Welcome back to the Quiet Corner. This is your sanctuary of stillness, a place where we let the urgent noise of the world drift away, replaced by the slower, deeper rhythms of the universe. Wherever you are tonight, whether you are curled up under heavy blankets, watching the shadows lengthen across the room, or simply resting your eyes after a long day, I invite you to let go. There is nothing you need to solve right now. There are no deadlines here, no demands, only the gentle pull of curiosity and the comfort of a story that has been telling itself for billions of years. Tonight, we are going to explore a very special kind of wisdom. We often think of knowledge as something loud, something found in textbooks, in bustling laboratories, or in the hum of supercomputers processing data at lightning speeds. We pride ourselves on what we know, on the gleaming cities we have built, and the machines we have crafted. But there is another kind of knowing, one that is silent, ancient, and incredibly patient. It is the knowledge of the natural world. Long before we learned to light a fire or carve a wheel, the earth was already solving problems that would baffle our brightest engineers. Nature knows things we don't. It holds secrets written not in ink, but in the veins of a leaf, the architecture of a spider's silk, and the migration of the whales. So let us begin by settling in. Take a slow, deep breath. Inhale the quiet of the room around you, and as you exhale, imagine the tension leaving your shoulders, drifting away like smoke in the evening air. Let your mind wander out of the room, out of the building, and into the open air. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, untouched landscape. It might be a forest heavy with moss, a desert cooling under the starlight, or a coastline where the ocean breathes against the sand. In this place, there is no technology as we know it, yet there is a sophistication that rivals anything humans have ever created. Consider for a moment the simple blade of grass. To us, it is just a splash of green, something to walk upon or mow down. But if we could slow our perception and zoom in, we would see a factory of unimaginable complexity. That single blade is harvesting light from a star 150 million kilometers away. It is taking photons, tiny packets of energy that have traveled through the freezing void of space, and capturing them with a precision that our best solar panels can only dream of mimicking. Inside its cells, a silent chemistry is turning that light and a little bit of water into sugar, into structure, into life. It does this without noise, without exhaust, without waste. It knows how to build itself from the air. We humans struggle with energy storage. We build heavy batteries that degrade and leak. Yet, nature solved this problem eons ago. It learned how to store sunlight in the chemical bonds of wood and oil, energy that can slumber for millions of years, only to be released as heat and light when the time is right. Nature knows how to wait. It understands the long game in a way we are only just beginning to grasp. Think of the way we build. We use heat, beat metal into shape, and pour concrete that cracks over time. We force materials to our will. But look at a seashell. The creature inside, a simple mollusk, builds a home that is stronger than our best ceramics. It does not use high-temperature kilns. It builds its fortress in the cold water, pulling calcium carbonate gently from the ocean currents, layer by microscopic layer. The result is a structure that is both beautiful and incredibly resilient, able to withstand the crushing pressure of the deep sea and the violent crashing of waves. The mollusk knows material science that we are still trying to reverse engineer. It knows how to be soft and build something hard. It knows how to be vulnerable and create safety. As you lie there, breathing slowly, think about the silence of this expertise. The spider does not need a blueprint to spin a web that, gram for gram, is stronger than steel. It does not need a degree in physics to understand tension and geometry. It simply knows. This knowledge is encoded in its very being, passed down through a lineage that stretches back before the dinosaurs. When a spider sits in the center of its web, waiting for a vibration, it is tuned into the world with a sensitivity that our finest senses envy. It is listening to the universe with its whole body. This is the theme we will follow tonight, the idea that we are surrounded by elders. Every tree, every insect, every flowing river is a keeper of secrets. We are the newcomers here, the young students in a library that has been open for 4.5 billion years. And the best part is, we don't have to conquer this knowledge. We just have to be quiet enough to hear it. We have to slow down our own internal clocks to match the pace of the living world. So, as we drift deeper into this journey, let your own thoughts slow down. Imagine them decelerating, like a spinning wheel coming to a gentle halt. Nature does not rush. The oak tree does not strain to grow. It simply expands, ring by ring, year by year, confident that it has enough time. The river does not panic when it meets a rock. It simply flows around it, knowing that water is more patient than stone. Let us borrow that patience tonight. Let us rest in the certainty that there is a wisdom supporting us, a great silent intelligence that weaves the world together while we sleep. Now that we have stepped into this quiet library, let us walk deeper into its most majestic hall, the forest. Imagine yourself walking on a floor of soft pine needles and damp earth. The air here is cool and smells of cedar, rain, and deep, rich soil. Above you, the canopy forms a stained glass window of leaves, filtering the sunlight into soft shafts of gold and green. It feels peaceful here, solitary even. But science tells us that this solitude is an illusion. Beneath your feet, in the dark, cool earth, a conversation is happening that is more complex than any telephone network humans have ever constructed. For centuries, we looked at trees and saw individuals. We saw them competing for light, fighting for space, standing alone in their struggle for survival. We projected our own behavior onto them. But nature knows something about community that we are only just rediscovering. Trees do not stand alone. They hold hands beneath the soil. If you were to gently peel back the layer of moss and soil, you would find a vast, white, gossamer web. This is the mycelium, the fungal network that connects the roots of one tree to another. Scientists have charmingly called it the wood wide web. Through these tiny microscopic threads, the trees communicate. They are not shouting, but whispering. They share resources. An old tree, heavy with the sugars of 100 summers, can send nourishment to a sapling struggling in the shade nearby. They act as a family, as a collective. Nature knows that survival is not just about the strongest winning. It is about the system enduring. When a tree is attacked by beetles or disease, it sends chemical distress signals through the air and through the roots. It warns its neighbours. Prepare defences, it whispers. And the surrounding trees, receiving this silent message, begin to change their own chemistry, producing bitter compounds to ward off the invaders. They protect each other. They know things about altruism and cooperation that would surprise us. Think of the mother trees, the oldest and largest in the forest. They are the hubs of this network. They have weathered storms, droughts, and fires. They hold the memory of the forest in their rings. When they reach the end of their life, they do not just fall and fade. In a slow, deliberate process, they dump their remaining resources back into the network, bequeathing their legacy to the young trees around them. They give everything back. They know that death is not an end, but a redistribution of energy. As you relax further into your bed, feeling the support of the mattress beneath you, think of that support system in the forest. Think of how comforting it is to know that nothing there is truly alone. The trees know how to stand still, yet they are constantly reaching out. They know how to be rooted, yet they travel through their connections. This wisdom extends to the rhythm of the seasons as well. We humans often fight against the cycle of rest. We burn lights late into the night. We push ourselves to be productive through the darkest days of winter. But the deciduous trees know better. Watch a maple tree in autumn. It does not cling fearfully to its leaves. It knows that the cold is coming, that water will be locked in ice, and that the heavy snow could break its branches if it tries to hold on to too much. So, with great wisdom, it lets go. It creates a special layer of cells at the base of each leaf stem, a clean break, essentially sealing the wound before the leaf even falls. It is a deliberate act of release. It sheds what it no longer needs to survive the winter. It draws its energy inward, down into the roots, deep into the warm earth. It goes dormant, it sleeps, and it trusts, with a certainty we rarely feel, that spring will come again. It knows that rest is not a waste of time. It is a survival strategy. It is the only way to gather the strength needed for the next season of growth. Imagine that feeling of dormancy. It is not death. It is a deep, restorative pause. The sap slows down. The breathing of the tree becomes shallow and quiet. It waits out the long, dark nights without anxiety. It does not worry about being productive. It simply exists, holding its place in the world, waiting for the warmth to return. We could learn so much from this. Nature knows that you cannot bloom all year round. It knows that there is a time to expand and a time to retreat, a time to gather and a time to let go. In the forest, time moves differently. A moment for a redwood tree might be a decade for us. They measure their lives in centuries. To them, our rushing about must seem like the frantic buzzing of flies. They have seen empires rise and fall, while they were just adding a few inches of girth to their trunks. This slow time is a kind of knowledge too. It is the knowledge of endurance. It teaches us that most problems pass if you wait them out. It teaches us that steady, slow growth creates wood that is hard and resilient, while fast growth creates wood that is soft and weak. So, as we leave the forest floor in our imagination, take with you this lesson of the trees. You are part of a network too. You are supported by the earth, by the air, by the people around you, even when you feel alone. And like the trees, you're allowed to rest. You are allowed to drop your leaves, your worries, your tasks, your busyness, and draw your energy inward. You're allowed to go dormant for the night, trusting that the sun will rise, the earth will turn, and you will wake up ready to grow again. The forest knows this, the soil knows this, and deep down, in the quietest part of your mind, you know it too. Let us drift now from the solid earth of the forest to something more fluid, more elusive, and perhaps even wiser. Let your mind wander to the sound of water. Maybe it is the rhythmic lapping of a lake against a wooden dock, or the distant steady roar of a waterfall, or simply the sound of rain drumming softly against a window pane. Water is the blood of the planet, and it knows secrets about movement and adaptation that we struggle to comprehend. Nature knows that the quickest way between 2 points is not always a straight line. If you look at a river from above, tracing its path from the mountains to the sea, it rarely shoots straight. It meanders, it curves, it loops back on itself in graceful serpentine shapes. We used to think this was inefficiency. For a long time, engineers tried to straighten rivers, pouring concrete channels to force the water to move faster, to behave logically. But nature knew better. The curves are there for a reason. They slow the energy of the water down. They create pools for fish to rest in. They allow the water to seep into the ground to replenish the aquifers. When we straightened the rivers, we caused floods. The water moved too fast, became too angry, and destroyed what was downstream. The river knew that to move safely, it had to move with a certain rhythm, a sway, a dance. Water knows how to be soft, and yet it knows how to defeat the hard. Think of the Grand Canyon. It is a monument to the patience of water. A river, soft and yielding, cut through layers of solid stone simply by not giving up. It did not use explosives. It did not use diamond-tipped drills. It used time and consistency. It caressed the stone, day after day, century after century, until the stone gave way. This is a profound kind of knowledge, the understanding that gentleness, when sustained, is stronger than force. As you lie there, feeling the weight of your body, imagine yourself becoming like water. Water does not resist gravity, it accepts it. When it flows into a cup, it becomes the cup. When it flows into a valley, it becomes the lake. It does not argue about its shape. It adapts instantly to the container it finds itself in. This is the wisdom of non-resistance. Nature knows that stress comes from rigidity, from trying to hold a shape that the universe is trying to change. Water stays cool, it stays loose, and because of that, it is indestructible. You can strike water, but you cannot hurt it. It simply flows around the blow and reforms. And consider the journey of a single drop. Nature has designed a system of recycling that is flawless. The water in your glass tonight might have once been snow on a peak in the Himalayas, or mist in a rainforest in the Amazon, or part of a cloud floating over the Pacific Ocean. It has been evaporating and falling for over 4 billion years. It knows the sky as well as it knows the deep earth. There is a hidden physics in a raindrop too. Have you ever watched a drop of water sit on a leaf? It beads up into a perfect sphere. It holds itself together. This is surface tension, a silent force where water molecules cling to one another. They want to be together. Just like the trees in the forest, water molecules are attracted to their own kind. They hold hands on a molecular level, creating a skin that is strong enough for tiny insects to walk upon. Nature knows how to create strength out of liquid. Water also understands density in a way that saves life. In almost every other substance in the universe, the solid form is heavier than the liquid form. If you freeze molten iron, it sinks. But water knows to do the opposite. When it freezes, it expands. It becomes lighter. Ice floats. It seems like a simple fact, but it is a miraculous anomaly. If ice sank, lakes and oceans would freeze from the bottom up, turning into solid blocks of ice that would kill everything living within them. Instead, the ice forms a floating blanket on top, insulating the water below. It keeps the warmth in. It creates a sanctuary for the fish and the plants beneath the surface. Nature engineered the chemistry of water specifically to protect life during the cold. It knew the winter would come, and it built a solution into the very molecules of the ocean. So tonight, let your thoughts be fluid. Do not try to hold them in a rigid shape. Let them drift like a stream. If a worry appears, do not build a dam to stop it. Just flow around it. Let it be a rock in the stream of your mind, passed by and left behind as you move toward the vast, calm ocean of sleep. Water does not worry about where it is going. It trusts gravity to take it there. You can trust the gravity of sleep in the same way. It is pulling you gently, inevitably, toward a place of rest. Let us lift our gaze now. We leave the forest floor and the winding river, and we look up into the vast open sky. It is twilight. The stars are just beginning to prick through the indigo canopy, and the air is cooling. High above, a flock of birds is moving like a single, dark ribbon against the fading light. We rely heavily on our tools to find our way. We have satellites, maps, and compasses on our phones. If we are dropped in the middle of the ocean or a featureless desert without them, we are lost. But nature knows exactly where it is. It has an internal compass that never runs out of batteries. Consider the Arctic tern, a small, elegant seabird. Every year, it undertakes a journey that defies logic. It flies from the Arctic, near the North Pole, all the way to the Antarctic, near the South Pole, and then back again. It chases the summer. In its lifetime, one small bird may fly the equivalent of 3 round trips to the moon. How does it know the way? It flies over open oceans, where there are no landmarks, no road signs, nothing but shifting waves and identical clouds. Nature has gifted these creatures with magnetoreception. Inside their eyes and beaks are tiny structures that can sense the magnetic field of the Earth. When a bird flies, it does not just see the horizon, it feels the north. It sees the magnetic field lines of the planet, as we might see a highway lane. It is connected to the core of the Earth, thousands of miles beneath us. The spinning iron heart of our planet generates a shield that protects us from solar radiation, And the birds use this invisible shield as a map. They know the invisible geography of the world. And it isn't just the long-distance journey that displays this wisdom. It is the moment-to-moment movement. Have you ever watched a murmuration of starlings? Thousands of birds flying together, swirling, twisting, expanding and contracting like a cloud of smoke. They move at incredible speeds, yet they never collide. There is no leader in the flock. No single bird is shouting commands. There is no air traffic controller. Nature knows how to organize without authority. Each bird follows simple, local rules. Match the speed of your neighbor. Stay close, but not too close, and steer toward the center. From these simple rules, a complex, beautiful intelligence emerges. The flock behaves as a single organism. If a predator approaches, the flock reacts instantly, rippling away like a liquid. It is a hive mind in the most beautiful sense. We humans often struggle with traffic. We get jammed up, we get frustrated, we crash. We try to control the flow with traffic lights and stop signs. But nature knows that flow works best when everyone is paying attention to the immediate present, reacting softly and quickly to what is right next to them. The starlings trust the bird next to them. They surrender their individuality to the safety of the group. In that surrender, they find a kind of freedom, the freedom to fly effortlessly, carried by the collective will. Even the insects know the secrets of the sky. The monarch butterfly, a creature as fragile as a piece of tissue paper, migrates thousands of miles from Canada to a specific patch of forest in Mexico. But here is the mystery. No single butterfly makes the whole trip. The migration takes generations. The butterfly that leaves Canada will lay eggs and die. Its children will fly a little further, then lay eggs and die. It is the grandchildren or great-grandchildren that finally arrive at the exact tree their ancestors left the previous spring. How is this possible? How can a butterfly remember a map it has never seen? How can it navigate to a home it has never visited? This is genetic memory. Nature knows how to encode geography into DNA. The map is not on paper. It is written in the very code of life, passed down through the egg. The butterfly is born knowing. It trusts an urge, a pull, a whisper in its blood that says, south. It does not ask why, it simply flies. There is a great comfort in this. It means that we do not always need to know the destination intellectually. Sometimes we have instincts that guide us, ancient pulls that tell us what we need. The desire to sleep, to rest, to seek warmth and safety, these are our migrations. So, as you lie in the dark, imagine you are navigating by that ancient star map. You do not need to steer the ship of your life right now. You can take your hands off the wheel. The magnetic pull of sleep is guiding you. Like the Arctic tern, you can trust the invisible currents. Like the monarch, you can trust that you are exactly where you are supposed to be on this journey. The sky is vast and it holds you. The earth is spinning, generating the gravity that cradles you in your bed. You are being carried, safe and sound, by a universe that knows the way. Let us bring our focus back down from the expansive sky, drifting slowly like a feather caught on a gentle breeze, until we land softly on the ground beneath our feet. We often overlook the ground. We treat it as merely a surface to walk upon, a platform for our homes and our roads. We call it dirt, a word that implies something unclean or unwanted. But nature knows that this dark, textured substance is the most valuable material in the universe. It is not dead matter. It is a living skin that wraps the planet in a protective, nourishing embrace. If you were to lie down on a patch of soft grass in a quiet meadow and press your ear to the ground, you would hear nothing but silence. But this silence is deceptive. Beneath you, in the top few inches of the earth, is a bustling metropolis, more crowded and complex than Tokyo or New York. Nature knows how to pack life into the smallest of spaces. Science tells us that in a single teaspoon of healthy soil, there are more living organisms than there are human beings on the entire planet. Think about that for a moment. A universe of life in the palm of your hand. Nature knows chemistry that our best laboratories are still trying to understand. Consider the nitrogen problem. Nitrogen is everywhere. It makes up about 78% of the air we breathe. It is the building block of life, essential for making proteins and DNA. But there is a catch. Atmospheric nitrogen is locked tight. Two nitrogen atoms hold onto each other with a triple bond that is incredibly hard to break. We humans figured out how to break it in the early 20th century using massive factories, high pressure, and scorching temperatures to make fertilizer. It is a loud, energy-intensive process. But nature solved this problem billions of years ago, in the dark without making a sound. Down in the soil, living on the roots of legumes like beans and clover, are tiny bacteria. They are microscopic alchemists. They take this stubborn gas from the air and, using special enzymes, gently pull the atoms apart, turning them into a form that plants can eat. They turn air into food. They do this at ambient temperature, silently, efficiently, and freely. The plants, in return, feed the bacteria with sugars from the sun. It is a perfect trade, a handshake between the vegetable and the microbial worlds that keeps the entire biosphere alive. Nature knows that true wealth comes from partnership, not exploitation. And consider the humble earthworm. To us, it is a simple, slimy creature, blind and deaf. But to the soil, the earthworm is a master engineer. It is nature's plough. As it tunnels through the dark, it eats the earth, digesting decaying leaves and debris. Inside its body, it mixes these ingredients with bacteria and enzymes, transforming waste into nutrient-rich gold called castings. As it moves, it creates tunnels that allow air and water to penetrate deep into the ground, letting the roots of plants breathe and drink. We use heavy tractors to till the fields, burning fuel and compacting the earth. The worm does the same job with its own body, gently improving the soil structure rather than destroying it. Darwin himself spent 40 years studying earthworms and concluded that they have played a more important part in the history of the world than almost any other animal. Nature knows that the smallest workers often do the most important labour. It knows that greatness is not about size or volume, it is about function and persistence. Think too of the patience of the soil. It takes roughly 500 years for nature to build just 1 inch of topsoil. It is a slow accumulation of dust, eroded rock, and the breakdown of generations of life. Nature does not rush this. It knows that a firm foundation cannot be built overnight. It grinds the mountains down into sand. It waits for the lichens to dissolve the stone. It waits for the leaves to fall and rot. It builds the cradle of life grain by grain. There is a comforting smell associated with this work. Have you ever walked outside right after a summer rain and smelled that distinct, earthy perfume? That scent has a name, petrichor. But the source of the smell is a compound called geosmin, released by soil bacteria when the rain hits the ground. Our human noses are incredibly sensitive to it. We can detect it at concentrations of just a few parts per trillion. Why? Because for our ancestors, that smell meant water. It meant survival. Nature knows how to signal us. It speaks to us in scents, reminding us of our connection to the ground. So as you lie in the comfort of your bed, imagine the dark, warm earth beneath the building you are in. Imagine the silent work going on down there, the turning of death into life, the breaking of bonds to create food, the slow, patient building of the future. The soil does not worry about the passing of time. It consumes the past to feed the present. It accepts everything, the fallen leaf, the broken branch, the rain, and transforms it into something new. You can do this too. You can let the events of your day, the mistakes, the tired moments, fall away like autumn leaves. Let them drop into the soil of your mind. Trust that your own internal nature will break them down, digest them, and turn them into wisdom for tomorrow. You do not need to hold on to them. The earth knows how to carry the weight. Let gravity pull your tension down, through the floor, into the ground, where it can be recycled into peace. We have explored the earth beneath us. Now let us journey to the places where the earth falls away entirely. Let your imagination carry you to the edge of the ocean, and then further, out past the breaking waves, past the continental shelf, into the deep, open blue. The ocean is the womb of the world. It covers more than 70% of our planet, yet we have mapped the surface of Mars more thoroughly than we have the floor of our own oceans. Nature keeps its deepest secrets well hidden. As we descend in our minds, the water turns from a sparkling turquoise to a rich royal blue, then to indigo, and finally, as we pass the mark of 200 meters, to absolute black. This is the midnight zone. Here, the sun is a memory. No photon of daylight has reached this depth for millions of years. It is a world of crushing pressure and eternal cold. By all human logic, this place should be desolate. Without the sun, how can there be life? Without warmth, how can there be energy? But nature knows that life is tenacious. Nature knows that where there is a will, there is a way, even in the void. In this darkness, nature has invented its own light. It is called bioluminescence. Since the creatures here cannot rely on the sun, they have learned to carry the stars inside their bodies. Picture the anglerfish, a creature that looks like a drifting shadow. Hanging in front of its mouth is a delicate rod, and at the tip of that rod is a glowing bulb. It is a lure, a tiny biological lantern pulsating in the dark. The fish does not use batteries. It uses a chemical reaction, mixing luciferin and oxygen to create a cold, efficient light that is nearly 100% energy efficient. Our best LED bulbs lose energy as heat. Nature's light is pure. There are jellyfish here that shimmer with iridescent rainbows, not from pigment, but from the way their bodies refract the tiny amount of light they create. There are squid that can flash colours to communicate with one another, sending silent messages across the abyss. Nature knows that darkness is not an obstacle. It is a canvas. It knows that when the world outside is dark, the only solution is to generate light from within. Think of the pressure down here. The weight of the water overhead is equivalent to having a car balanced on your thumb. If we went down there in a regular submarine, the hull would be crushed like a soda can. But the creatures of the deep, the delicate jellyfish, the spindly crabs, the translucent cucumbers, they are fine. They do not fight the pressure. They do not build thick armoured walls to keep the ocean out. Instead, they let the ocean in. Their bodies are made mostly of water, the same density as the world around them. Because there is no difference between the inside and the outside, there is no force trying to crush them. This is a profound piece of wisdom, equalizing the pressure. Nature knows that you survive stress not by hardening yourself against it, but by becoming one with it. By allowing the environment to flow through you, you become uncrushable. The deep-sea cucumber moves slowly across the ocean floor, fragile as glass, yet surviving where a tank of steel would fail. It accepts the weight of the world, and in accepting it, the weight disappears. And how do they eat in a world without plants? They rely on marine snow. This is a gentle, endless snowfall of organic matter drifting down from the sunlit world above. Tiny scraps of food, dust and life fall slowly, taking weeks or months to reach the bottom. The deep ocean is a place of slow time. Metabolism here runs at a glacial pace. Some sharks in these waters, like the Greenland shark, can live for 400 years. They grow less than a centimetre a year. They do not rush. Their hearts beat slowly. They move with a lethargic grace that conserves every ounce of energy. Nature knows that when resources are scarce, the answer is to slow down. It knows that a fast-burning fire runs out of fuel quickly, but a slow smoulder can last through the longest night. In the deep, patience is the ultimate survival skill. Even the floor of the ocean is alive with secrets. There are hydrothermal vents, cracks in the Earth's crust, where superheated water, filled with minerals from the planet's core, shoots up into the freezing ocean. These are toxic, boiling plumes that would kill a human instantly. Yet, huddled around them are colonies of giant tube worms and white crabs. They do not need the sun at all. They feed on the chemicals from the Earth's blood. They use a process called chemosynthesis. They have found a way to live on the heat of the planet itself. Nature knows that life does not just come from the sky, it comes from the fire below. As you drift towards sleep, imagine the silence of this deep water. It is a heavy, comforting blanket. The noise of the surface, the storms, the ships, the wind, cannot reach here. It is a place of perfect stability. The temperature never changes. The currents are slow and gentle. It is the ultimate sanctuary. You can descend into your own midnight zone now. Let your mind sink below the surface waves of your thoughts. Let the noise of the day fade away as you go deeper. You do not need the sun right now. You do not need to see everything clearly. You can float in the velvet darkness, safe and pressurized by the comfort of your blankets. Like the deep-sea creatures, you can generate your own warmth, your own light. You can slow your heart, slow your breath, and exist in the suspended animation of rest. The ocean is holding you. The dark is not empty, it is full of peace. Let us return gently to the embrace of the woods. But this time, let us look not at the strength of the trees, but at their vulnerability, and more importantly, their miraculous ability to mend. We humans have built vast hospitals and filled pharmacies with bottles of pills, constantly searching for ways to fix what is broken. We treat healing as a battle, a war against illness, where we must attack symptoms and conquer pain. But nature knows that healing is not a war. It is a process of reconstruction, a slow, sticky, patient weaving of the self back together. Imagine a pine tree that has been scratched by the claws of a passing bear, or cracked by the weight of a heavy winter snow. It does not panic. It does not rush to an emergency room. Instead, it activates a silent, internal chemistry that is millions of years old. Immediately, the tree begins to produce resin, a thick, golden, fragrant liquid that oozes slowly from the wound. This is not just sap, it is a bandage, a sealant, and an antiseptic, all in one. The resin creates a barrier against bacteria and fungi, trapping invaders in its sticky embrace. Over time, this liquid hardens, it crystallizes, it becomes amber. Nature knows how to turn a wound into a jewel. Think of the willow tree, growing quietly by the riverbank, its branches sweeping the water like long hair. For thousands of years, humans suffered from fevers and aches, unaware that the cure was standing right beside them. The bark of the willow contains salicylic acid, the precursor to our modern aspirin. The tree did not create this compound for us. It created it for itself, as a hormone to regulate its own growth and stress response. Nature knows how to synthesize complex medicine from sunlight and soil. It knows that within the bitter bark lies the secret to soothing inflammation. And consider the wisdom of the animals who live in this green pharmacy. Zoopharmacognosy is the scientific name for a simple, ancient truth. Animals know how to medicate themselves. Watch a chimpanzee in the wild who is suffering from a stomach ailment. It will bypass the sweet fruits it usually loves and seek out the bitter pith of a specific plant, Vernonia amygdalina. It chews the bitter stalk, swallowing the juice. The plant is toxic in high doses, but the chimpanzee knows exactly how much to consume to kill the parasites in its gut, without harming itself. It does not have a measuring cup or a prescription. It has an instinct, a deep somatic knowledge that tells it what its body needs. Even the macaw parrots of the Amazon know secrets of chemistry. They eat seeds and fruits that are packed with alkaloids, toxins that the plants produce to stop themselves from being eaten. To neutralize this poison, the birds flock to riverbanks made of clay. They eat the clay. Nature has taught them that the clay particles bind to the toxins in their stomachs, rendering them harmless. It is a primitive detox, a lesson passed down through generations of birds. They know that the earth itself is the antidote. There is a profound lesson here about the pace of recovery. When a forest burns, it looks like the end of the world. The ground is blackened. The trees are skeletons of charcoal. It looks like death. But nature knows that fire is also a key. There are pine cones, like those of the jack pine, that are sealed shut with a resin so hard that only the intense heat of a fire can melt it. They wait for the fire. They need the disaster. Only when the forest burns do these cones pop open, releasing their seeds into the ash-rich soil, ready to birth the next generation. Nature knows that sometimes things must fall apart before they can come back together stronger. As you lie in the stillness of your room, think of your own body's silent intelligence. You do not have to tell your skin how to heal a scratch. You do not have to command your white blood cells to fight an infection. You do not have to remind your bones to knit themselves back together. Your body knows. It is part of nature, and it carries the same ancient wisdom as the pine tree and the willow. It is working for you right now, repairing the microscopic wear and tear of the day, filtering toxins, rebuilding cells. Trust this process. Healing is rarely a straight line, and it is almost never fast. It is a season. Like the forest recovering from a storm, you cannot force the green shoots to appear overnight. You can only provide the right conditions, rest, warmth, and time, and let the natural intelligence of your biology do the rest. Let your mind soften around any places that feel hurt or tired. Imagine covering them in that golden warm resin of sleep. Let the night seal the cracks. Let the silence be your medicine. You are safe in the care of a body that knows exactly how to make you whole again. Let us drift now from the cool, damp earth of the forest to a place of warmth, vibration, and golden light. Imagine a sunlit meadow in midsummer. The air is thick with the scent of clover and wildflowers. If you listen closely, underneath the rustle of the wind, you will hear a steady, hypnotic hum. It is the sound of the honeybee, one of nature's greatest mathematicians and architects. We humans pride ourselves on our engineering. We build skyscrapers and bridges using complex calculus and computers. But the honeybee builds structures of absolute perfection in total darkness, using nothing but its own body. Look at a piece of honeycomb. It is a sheet of hexagonal wax cells, identical in size, fitting together without a single gap. Why hexagons? Why not circles or squares or triangles? Nature knows the answer. It is a problem of efficiency. If you use circles, there are wasted gaps between them. If you use squares or triangles, they fit together, but they require more wax to create the same amount of storage space. The hexagon is the geometric champion. It provides the maximum amount of interior space with the minimum amount of building material. It is the strongest shape for its weight. The bees did not learn this from a textbook. They did not hold a committee meeting to decide on the blueprint. They know it in their legs and antennae. They know that resources are precious, that wax takes energy to create, and that nothing should be wasted. To make just 1 pound of wax, the bees must consume 8 pounds of honey. To make that honey, they must visit millions of flowers. The cost of construction is high, so nature devised the perfect angle, 120 degrees, to solve the problem of storage. It is geometry born of necessity, and consider the honey itself. This is perhaps the most magical substance nature has ever produced. If you leave a loaf of bread on the counter, it molds in a week. If you leave milk out, it sours in a day. But honey? Honey is eternal. Archaeologists have found pots of honey in Egyptian tombs that are 3,000 years old, and when they opened them, the honey was still edible. It had not spoiled. How is this possible? Nature knows chemistry. The bees flap their wings to evaporate the water out of the nectar, making it too dry for bacteria to grow. They add an enzyme called glucose oxidase, which produces mild amounts of hydrogen peroxide, a natural preservative and antiseptic. They create a food source that pauses time. They capture the essence of a summer day, the sunlight, the flower pollen, the energy, and lock it in a golden amber stasis that can last forever. They know how to save the summer for the winter. Inside the hive, there is also a wisdom of temperature. Bees are cold-blooded, yet their hive is always warm. In the depths of winter, when the world outside is frozen solid and the temperature drops to 30 degrees below zero, the centre of the beehive remains at a cosy 93 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the temperature of a tropical day. They achieve this through the power of the collective. They form a tight cluster, a ball of thousands of bees, and they shiver their wing muscles. They vibrate. They turn kinetic energy into heat. The bees on the outside of the ball provide insulation, and as they get cold, they rotate into the centre to warm up, while the warm bees move out to take their turn, shielding the group. It is a continuous churning cycle of shared warmth. No bee freezes because no bee is left alone on the outside for too long. Nature knows that warmth is a communal resource. It knows that we survive the cold by holding on to one another. Even their communication is a marvel of physics. When a scout bee finds a patch of delicious flowers, she does not guide the others there. She returns to the dark hive and performs the waggle dance. She vibrates her body and runs in a figure-8 pattern. The angle of her run relative to the vertical comb tells the other bees the angle they must fly relative to the sun. The length of her waggle tells them the distance. She is translating a map of the outside world into a dance in the dark. She is doing trigonometry with her hips. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine that warm, golden hum surrounding you. Think of the honeycomb, that perfect, efficient structure. Your mind creates order too. You categorize your memories, you store your knowledge, you build a structure of understanding. But tonight, you do not need to build. You can just rest in the warmth of the hive. You can be like the bee in the center of the cluster, protected and warmed by the universe around you. Let your thoughts become slow and thick, like honey dripping from a spoon, sweet, heavy and golden. Let the geometric shapes of the day soften into the fluid darkness. You have worked hard. You have gathered your nectar. Now it is time to store it away, to let it settle, to preserve the energy you have collected. Sleep is your honeycomb. It is the structure that holds you safe. It is the eternal preservation of your strength. Drift into that sweetness now, safe in the knowledge that nature never wastes a moment of rest. Let us now close our eyes. In our human world, closing our eyes usually means cutting off our primary way of knowing the truth. We are visual creatures. We believe what we see. We rely on light bouncing off objects to tell us where the wall is, where the danger lies, and where beauty hides. When the lights go out, we feel vulnerable. We stumble. We reach out with trembling hands. But nature knows that light is not the only way to see. It knows that the universe is vibrating, and if you know how to listen, sound can paint a picture just as sharp and colourful as any photograph. Imagine the night sky not as a canvas of stars, but as a volume of air. Into this darkness flies the bat. For centuries we misunderstood these creatures, fearing their erratic flight. But the bat is not flying blindly. It is moving with a precision that would shame a fighter pilot. It knows a secret about physics. Sound is touch at a distance. As the bat flies, it shouts. It emits a stream of high-frequency clicks, far too high for our human ears to hear. These are not random noises. They are questions thrown out into the dark. Is there a tree here? Is there a moth there? And the world answers. The sound waves travel out, hit the objects in the path, and bounce back. This is echolocation. But to call it just hearing is an insult. It is seeing with sound. The bat's brain is a supercomputer of acoustic processing. It measures the time it takes for the echo to return to the millionth of a second. If the echo comes back quickly, the object is close. If it takes longer, it is far. But nature knows more than just distance. It knows texture. A hard wall bounces sound back differently than a soft, furry moth. A moving insect shifts the pitch of the echo, the Doppler effect. telling the bat exactly how fast the prey is moving and in what direction. The bat builds a three-dimensional map of the world in its mind, updated 40 times a second in total darkness. It is flying through a landscape made of echoes. It knows that the dark is not empty, it is loud with information. Now let your mind sink back into the ocean, down into the deep blue where we visited before. Here light disappears quickly, but sound travels 4 times faster than it does in air. The ocean is the realm of the sperm whale, the loudest creature to ever live. Inside the whale's massive, blocky head is an organ filled with a special waxy oil called spermaceti. Nature designed this head not just as a battering ram, but as a biological sonar lens. The whale makes a click. It is a sound so powerful that if you were swimming next to it, the vibration could heat your body. This sound travels out for miles, searching the abyss. When it hits a giant squid hiding in the dark, the echo returns. But the whale doesn't just see the outside of the squid. Because sound passes through different densities differently, the whale can effectively X-ray its prey. It can see the squid's internal organs. It can see through the sand on the ocean floor to find fish hiding beneath. Nature knows that true vision goes deeper than the surface. It knows that you can look inside a thing without ever touching it. There is a profound lesson in this acoustic world. We humans are often distracted by the surface of things, by the way things look. We judge by appearances, but nature listens. To listen is to be receptive, to wait for the world to come to you rather than reaching out to grab it. The bat and the whale do not force their way through the dark. They enter into a dialogue with it. They send out a signal and wait for the reply. It is a relationship of call and response. Think of the quiet in your room right now. It is not true silence. If you listen with the focus of the wild, you can hear the hum of the refrigerator, the settling of the house, the rhythm of your own breath. These sounds are painting a map of safety around you. You know, without opening your eyes, that the walls are still standing, that the window is closed, that the world is holding its shape. Nature knows that we do not always need to see the path ahead to move forward. Sometimes the visual information is too chaotic, too overwhelming. In those moments, it is wiser to close your eyes and listen. Listen for the subtle echoes that tell you where you are. Listen to the resonance of the people around you. Trust that the feedback you get from the universe is accurate. As you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself developing this sonar. You're sending out a gentle signal of rest. You are broadcasting peace into the room, and the room is echoing it back to you. Soft pillows, warm blankets, heavy eyelids. The echo is comforting. You are safe in the dark. You do not need a light to know you are home. You can navigate this night by feel, by sound, by the gentle, rhythmic pulse of sleep taking over. The dark is not a void. It is a velvet space waiting to hold you. Let us journey now to the coldest reaches of the forest, deep in the heart of winter. The snow is piled high, covering the fallen logs and the sleeping roots. The air is sharp and still, freezing everything it touches. In this landscape, movement seems impossible. Water turns to stone. The sap in the trees stops flowing. To our human minds, this cold is an enemy, a force that brings death. But nature knows that cold is also a preserver, a pause button that allows life to skip over the hard times. Consider the wood frog, a tiny creature no bigger than a matchbox, living in the leaf litter of the North American forests. When winter comes, it does not dig deep underground like the worm, nor does it migrate like the bird. It does something that defies medical science. It freezes solid. If you were to pick up a wood frog in January, it would feel like a jagged rock. Its heart has stopped beating. Its lungs have stopped breathing. Its brain has no activity. By every clinical definition we have, this frog is dead. If you put a human in this state, crystals of ice would form inside our cells, sharp shards that would puncture the cell walls like millions of tiny knives, destroying us from the inside out. But nature knows chemistry. It knows how to make antifreeze. As soon as the first ice crystals touch the frog's skin, its liver kicks into overdrive. It begins to pump massive amounts of glucose, sugar, into its bloodstream. This sugar packs into the cells, pushing the water out. The water freezes in the spaces between the cells, where it can't do any damage, while the inside of the cell remains a thick, syrupy liquid that never turns to ice. The frog becomes a sugary confection, a biological candy. It sits there, suspended in time, for months. It knows how to wait. It surrenders completely to the winter. It does not fight the freeze. It becomes the freeze. And then the miracle happens. When the spring sun touches the forest floor and the temperature rises, the frog thaws. The heart, silent for 90 days, gives a twitch, then another. Within hours, the frog is hopping away, looking for a mate, as if nothing happened. It has returned from the dead. Nature knows that a pause is not an end. It knows that life is durable enough to stop and start again. Now, think of the black bear, curled up in its den beneath the roots of a great cedar tree. The bear enters a state of torpor. It is a deep, metabolic sleep. For 5 or 6 months, the bear will not eat, will not drink, and remarkably, will not produce waste. If a human lay in bed for 6 months without moving, our muscles would wither, our bones would become brittle, and our organs would fail from the build-up of toxins. But the bear knows a secret about recycling. Inside its sleeping body, a sophisticated chemical plant is running. Instead of excreting waste, the bear breaks down urea and recycles the nitrogen back into protein. It uses its own waste to rebuild its muscles while it sleeps. It emerges in the spring, not weak and atrophied, but strong, sometimes even giving birth and nursing cubs during this deep sleep. The bear knows how to be self-sustaining. It turns inward, finding everything it needs within its own reserves. This is the wisdom of the cycle. We humans live in a linear world. We want to go forward, 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 all the time. We are terrified of stopping. We think that if we are not productive, we are failing. But nature knows that productivity requires rest. The bear is not lazy. The frog is not quitting. They are surviving. They are conserving their energy for the time when it matters most. They know that you cannot harvest in the winter. You can only hold on. There is a peace in this idea of dormancy. Imagine if we treated our own periods of low energy, our own winters, not as failures, but as biological necessities. What if, when you felt cold and tired and uninspired, you didn't fight it? What if you, like the wood frog, flooded your system with sweetness, with kindness to yourself, and just sat still? What if you trusted the thaw? Nature promises that spring always comes. The earth tilts back, the sun returns, the ice melts. Nothing stays frozen forever. But to get to the spring, you must endure the winter. You must respect the cold. So tonight, as you pull the covers up to your chin, imagine you are entering your own hibernation. You are not just sleeping, you are entering a state of repair. Like the bear, your body is going to go to work while your mind shuts down. It is going to knit your muscles, flush out the toxins of the day, and recycle your experiences into memories. You are safe to shut down. You are safe to stop your heart from racing, to stop your mind from running. Let the stillness overtake you. Let yourself be heavy and still. The world will carry on spinning without your help for a few hours. You can freeze this moment in time, secure in the knowledge that when the light returns, you will wake up thawed, warm, and ready to live again. Let us drift now to the warm, golden savannas of Africa. Imagine a landscape of tall, swaying grass, scattered acacia trees, and a sun that beats down with an intense, relentless heat. Here the air shimmers above the ground, and the temperature can swing wildly from the blistering noon to the cool of the night. It is a harsh environment, one that challenges every living thing to find shelter. We humans, when faced with this heat, build glass towers and pump them full of refrigerated air. We fight the climate with massive engines, burning fuel to force the temperature down. But nature knows a better way. Nature knows how to breathe. Rising from the red earth of the savannah are the great mounds of the termites. To the casual eye, they look like chaotic piles of hardened mud, sometimes standing 15 or 20 feet tall, like ancient obelisks or ruined castles. But inside these mounds lies a city of exquisite architectural genius. These are not just piles of dirt, they are giant external lungs. The termite is a tiny blind creature with soft skin that would dry out instantly in the sun. It needs a very specific environment to survive: high humidity and a constant temperature of about 87 degrees Fahrenheit. This is crucial because the termites are not just builders, they are farmers. Deep in the heart of their fortress, they cultivate a specialized fungus that digests the wood they gather. This fungus is their food source, and it is incredibly finicky. If the nest gets too hot, the fungus dies. If it gets too cold, the fungus stops growing. So, how does a blind insect with a brain the size of a grain of sand build a climate-controlled skyscraper without electricity? Nature knows fluid dynamics. The termites build a complex network of channels and chimneys within the mound. They understand the principle that hot air rises. As the colony lives and works deep underground, their bodies and their fungal gardens generate heat. This warm, stale air rises up through a central chimney, moving toward the top of the mound. As this air rises, it creates a vacuum, a gentle suction, that pulls fresh, cooler air in through tiny vents at the base of the mound. The mound is constantly inhaling and exhaling. It captures the slightest breeze outside and uses it to drive this circulation. But it gets even smarter. The walls of the mound are porous. During the day, they absorb the heat of the sun, keeping the interior cool. At night, when the outside air turns cold, that stored heat is slowly released back into the nest, keeping the babies and the garden warm. It is a thermal battery. The termites are constantly adjusting this system. If the nest gets too stuffy, thousands of workers will march to the air shafts and open new vents. If a storm is coming, they will seal them up. They do not need a thermostat. They are the thermostat. They feel the air quality with their antennae and react instantly as a collective. They act as a single, fluid consciousness, responding to the needs of the city. We humans are only just beginning to copy this. Architects are now designing office buildings inspired by termite mounds, using passive airflow to reduce energy costs. We are looking at the dumb insect and realizing it was a master engineer all along. Nature knows that you do not need to fight the environment to be comfortable. You just need to work with the physics of the air. It knows that the best walls are not barriers, but membranes, skins that allow the building to breathe. There is a lesson here about the structures we build in our own lives. We often try to create perfect, rigid stability. We want our days to go exactly according to plan. We want our emotions to remain fixed. We seal ourselves off. But the termite mound survives because it interacts with the world. It lets the wind in. It uses the heat. It adapts. As you lie in your bed, think of the room around you. It is your shelter. But think also of your own body as a structure. You are breathing, just like the mound. You are taking in what you need and releasing what you do not. You possess an autonomic nervous system that regulates your temperature, your heart rate, and your oxygen levels, without you ever having to issue a command. You do not have to tell your pores to open or close. You do not have to calculate the pH of your blood. Nature has built this wisdom into your very foundation. You can trust this internal architect. You can surrender the need to control every aspect of your environment. The termites do not worry about the sun. They simply adjust. You do not need to worry about tomorrow. You can simply breathe. Let the air flow in and out, a gentle tide that connects you to the world. You are safe in your own fortress, a marvel of biological engineering that knows exactly how to keep you alive while you sleep. Let us leave the dry heat of the savannah and slip back into the cool, embracing waters of the ocean. We are drifting over a coral reef, a kaleidoscope of colour and motion. Sunlight filters down through the turquoise water, dancing in patterns of gold on the white sand below. Here, amidst the waving sea fans and the darting fish, lives a creature that has mastered the art of disappearance, the octopus. We humans rely on clothes and makeup to change our appearance. We put on costumes to hide or to perform. But the octopus and its cousins, the cuttlefish and the squid, can change their entire reality in the blink of an eye. Nature knows that sometimes the best way to survive is to become invisible. The skin of an octopus is not just a covering, it is a screen, a high-definition display made of living cells. These cells are called chromatophores. Imagine millions of tiny, elastic balloons filled with different colours of ink: red, yellow, brown and black. Attached to each balloon are tiny muscles controlled by the octopus's nervous system. When the octopus wants to turn red, it flexes the muscles, stretching the balloons wide so the pigment is visible. When it wants to turn white, it relaxes, and the balloons shrink to tiny dots, disappearing. But nature did not stop at colour. It knows that the world is textured. A flat picture of a rock does not look like a real rock. So, the octopus has evolved papillae, tiny bundles of muscle under the skin that can bunch up to create bumps, ridges and spikes. In less than a second, a smooth, sleek octopus can transform into a jagged, mossy piece of coral. It changes its three-dimensional shape. It becomes the reef. And here is the true mystery. The octopus is colorblind. Its eyes have only one type of light receptor. It sees the world in black and white, yet it can match the complex, mottled colors of the sand or the seaweed perfectly. How does it know what color to be if it cannot see color? Recent science suggests a mind-bending answer. The octopus might see with its skin. Its skin contains opsins, the same light-sensitive proteins found in eyes. The skin itself can sense the intensity and wavelength of the light hitting it. The octopus does not need to look at the sand to match it. Its body feels the light and reacts. It is a creature of pure reflex and sensation. It bypasses the brain and lets the body do the thinking. This is the wisdom of the living canvas. Nature knows that identity can be fluid. The octopus does not cling to one shape or one colour. It flows. If it is hunting, it might ripple with mesmerising waves of dark and light to confuse its prey. If it is hiding, it becomes a stone. It is fully present in the moment, adapting its very being to match its surroundings. It does not possess an ego that says, "I must look like this." It says, "I will be whatever this moment asks of me." There is a deep peace in this kind of adaptability. We often feel pressure to define ourselves, to present a consistent, solid face to the world. We build an identity and defend it. We say, "I am a person who does this," or "I am not the kind of person who does that." But nature shows us that it is okay to change. It is okay to be soft today and hard tomorrow. It is okay to blend in when you need rest and to shine bright when you need to be seen. The octopus also teaches us about the intelligence of the body. We tend to live in our heads, thinking that all our wisdom comes from our thoughts. But our skin knows things, our gut knows things, our muscles hold memories. Just like the octopus's skin sensing the light, our bodies are constantly picking up signals from the environment. The mood of a room, the safety of a situation, the warmth of a friend. We often ignore these signals because we are too busy thinking. Nature invites us to stop thinking and start feeling. As you drift closer to the edge of sleep, imagine yourself possessing this fluid ability. You do not have to be anyone specific right now. You do not have to be a parent, a worker, a student, or a leader. You can let all those colours fade. You can relax the muscles of your identity. Let yourself blend into the darkness of the room. Become part of the night. Imagine your skin relaxing, the tension melting away, like the ink in the chromatophores shrinking down. You are becoming smooth. You are becoming weightless. You are disappearing into the comfort of your bed, hidden from the demands of the world. In this state of camouflage, you are perfectly safe. Nothing can find you here. You are just a quiet, breathing part of the universe, blending in, resting, and waiting for the new colours of the morning. Let us take a slow, deep breath and drift away from the underwater world, rising up through the layers of the ocean, breaking the surface and finding ourselves in a wide open field. It is early morning. The mist is clinging to the ground, a soft grey blanket that muffles the world. As the sun begins to peek over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of apricot and violet, we witness a silent movement, a synchronized dance that has been happening for millions of years. We humans are obsessed with time. We strap watches to our wrists. We hang clocks on our walls. We carry phones that slice the day into hours, minutes, and seconds. We are terrified of being late. We are constantly checking to see where we stand in the river of time. But nature does not need a clock to know what time it is. It feels the time. It embodies the rhythm of the turning earth. Consider the sunflower. A field of young sunflowers is not just a collection of plants. It is a solar array. In the morning, every single flower head faces east, waiting for the sunrise. They are anticipating the light. As the sun moves across the sky from east to west, the flowers turn their heads, tracking it with the precision of a satellite dish. This is called heliotropism. But how does a plant which has no muscles and no brain move? Nature knows the physics of growth. The sunflower does not turn by twisting. It turns by growing. During the day, the east side of the stem grows a little faster than the west side, pushing the head toward the west. At night, the process reverses. In the dark, while we are sleeping, the sunflower is resetting. The west side of the stem grows faster, swinging the head back toward the east, ready to greet the sun the moment it returns. It is a slow hydraulic dance, powered by water pressure and hormones called auxins. But here is the true wisdom. The sunflower does not just react to the sun, it predicts it. If you take a sunflower into a laboratory, with constant light, it will still move in a 24-hour rhythm for days. It has internalized the rotation of the planet. It knows that the sun will rise, even if it cannot see it. It trusts the cycle. It knows that light always follows darkness. Now, let your mind travel to a dense bamboo forest in Asia. Bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants on Earth. Some species can grow 3 feet in a single day, but there is a deeper mystery hidden in its roots. There are species of bamboo that flower only once every 60, or sometimes even every 120 years. This is a span of time longer than a human life. For decades, the bamboo grows quietly, green and silent, building its strength. Then suddenly, all the bamboo of that species, no matter where it is in the world, flowers at the exact same time. It is a global event. Bamboo in China, bamboo in Japan, and bamboo transplanted to gardens in England will all burst into bloom simultaneously. This is called masting. How do they count to 120 years? They do not have calendars. They do not send emails. Nature has an internal molecular clock that is incredibly precise. The bamboo is counting the seasons, measuring the years in the chemistry of its sap. It knows that if it flowers alone, the seeds will be eaten by rats or birds. But if they all flower at once, producing millions of tons of seeds, the predators will be overwhelmed. They cannot eat it all. Some seeds will survive to grow the next generation. It is safety in numbers, coordinated across vast distances of time and space. The bamboo holds its breath for a century, waiting for the perfect moment to exhale. There is a profound lesson here about our own relationship with time. We often feel like we are running out of time, or that we are behind. We judge ourselves if we haven't achieved certain things by a certain age. But nature teaches us that everything has its own season. The sunflower moves by the day, the bamboo moves by the century. Neither is wrong, neither is late. Inside your own body, there is a clock just as ancient as the sunflowers. It is called your circadian rhythm. Deep in your brain, a tiny cluster of cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus is tracking the light. It knows when to release cortisol to wake you up and when to release melatonin to help you sleep. It is trying to align you with the rotation of the Earth. The problem is that we often fight this clock. We stare at bright screens late at night. We drink caffeine to force ourselves awake. We try to override nature. But tonight, you can stop fighting. You can listen to the quiet ticking of your own biology. If you feel tired, that is not a failure. That is gravity. That is the sun going down in your own blood. So, as you lie there, imagine you are a sunflower at the end of the day. You have followed the light as best you can. Now, the sun has set. It is time to bow your head. It is time to reset. You do not need to worry about tomorrow's sun. Your body knows it is coming. You can trust the darkness. It is the time for growth, for resetting your internal compass, so that when the morning comes, you will be ready to face the light again naturally, without force, just by being exactly what you are. Let us shift our focus now from the grand movements of the sun and the slow march of the bamboo to something intricate, delicate, and happening right in the corner of a quiet garden. Imagine it is just after dawn. The air is cool and damp. Spanning the gap between two fence posts is a masterpiece of engineering, sparkling with tiny droplets of dew. It is a spiderweb, a perfect spiral suspended in the air. For many, spiders are creatures of fear, but if we look with the eyes of the sleepy scientist, we see a weaver, an artist, and a material scientist of the highest order. The spider is a creature that builds its own home out of its own body. It does not gather sticks or mud. It reaches inside itself and pulls out safety. Nature knows secrets about materials that we are still trying to steal. Spider silk is a miracle substance. Depending on the species, it can be 5 times stronger than steel, of the same diameter, and more elastic than nylon. If we could weave a net of spider silk the thickness of a pencil, it could catch a Boeing 747 in flight. Yet, it is biodegradable. It is made of protein and water. Inside the spider's abdomen, the silk starts as a liquid sludge. It is a thick soup of proteins. As the spider pulls this liquid through its spinnerets, a physical transformation happens. The narrowing ducts align the protein molecules, squeezing them into solid fibers. It is a biological 3D printer, turning liquid into solid instantly, at room temperature, without toxic chemicals. We humans heat plastic to melt it and mold it. The spider simply pulls. Watch the spider work in your mind's eye. It does not have a ruler. It does not have a blueprint. It uses its own legs to measure. It steps out the distance from the center, creating a spiral that is mathematically precise. It builds the radial threads first, the spokes of the wheel, which are strong and non-sticky. These are the roads it will walk on. Then it weaves the capture spiral, the sticky, stretchy threads that will catch the prey. It knows exactly which string is which. It never gets stuck in its own trap. But the web is not just a trap. It is an extension of the spider's senses. When the spider sits in the center of the web, it is holding the signal lines. It is blind to the world of light, but it is hyper-aware of the world of vibration. The web is an external nervous system. If a fly hits the top right corner, the vibration travels down a specific thread, at a specific frequency. The spider feels the impact. It knows the size of the visitor. It knows if it is food, or a mate, or a danger, just by the music of the silk. Nature knows that we do not stop at our skin. Our tools, our homes, the things we create, they become part of us. The spider feels the wind through the web. It feels the dew settling on the threads. It is connected to the world through its creation. And here is the most beautiful part of the spider's wisdom: recycling. Webs get damaged. The wind tears them. Large insects punch holes in them. Dust makes them lose their stickiness. So, often at the end of the night or in the early morning, the spider will take the web down. It does not throw it away. It eats it. It consumes the silk, breaking the proteins back down into amino acids, so it can respin the web the next night. It is a perfect closed loop. Nothing is wasted. The energy used to build the home is reclaimed to build it again. Nature knows that everything is temporary. The web is not meant to last forever. It is meant to serve a purpose for a day. If it breaks, it is not a tragedy. It is just breakfast. It is raw material for the next attempt. This is the wisdom of resilience. It is not about building a fortress that never falls. It is about having the capacity to rebuild over and over again, with patience and grace. As you lie in the soft embrace of your bed, imagine that you are weaving your own web of comfort. You are pulling the blankets around you. You are arranging your pillows. You're creating a sanctuary out of the materials of the night. This is your safe space. Like the spider, you are sensitive to this environment. You can feel the warmth, you can feel the softness. And like the spider, you can let go of what is broken. If today did not go according to plan, if the web of your day got torn or dusty, that is okay. You do not have to fix it now. You can let it dissolve. You can let the night absorb the mistakes and the tiredness. You can reclaim that energy. Sleep is the process of recycling your strength. You are breaking down the old proteins of the day so that tomorrow, when the sun rises, you can spin a new web, fresh and strong and glistening with possibility. For now, just rest in the center of your stillness. The thread holds. You are safe. Let us lower our gaze once more, down from the swaying webs of the garden, down past the roots of the flowers, to the very surface of the earth. Here, among the grains of sand and the fallen pine needles, a civilization is hard at work. It is a world of constant motion, of silent communication, and of sophisticated geometry, drawn not with ink, but with scent. This is the world of the ant. We humans rely heavily on our eyes to navigate. We look for landmarks, we read signs, we stare at the glowing blue lines on our GPS screens. If we cannot see the road, we feel lost. But the ant often lives in a world of dim light or total darkness. It does not navigate by sight, it navigates by chemistry. Nature knows that vision can be deceived, but scent is a chemical truth. Imagine a single scout ant leaving the colony. She is looking for food. She wanders erratically, exploring the terrain, climbing over pebbles that look like boulders to her. When she finally finds a crumb of bread or a fallen seed, she does not shout to her sisters. She eats a little, turns around, and heads back to the nest. But as she walks, she does something remarkable. She presses her abdomen to the ground and paints a thin, invisible line of pheromones. She is drawing a map with her body. These pheromones are volatile chemicals, perfumes of logic that evaporate at a specific rate. When other ants cross this line, they smell the message. They know that this trail leads to food, but nature's genius lies in the algorithm of the crowd. If two ants find two different paths to the same food source, one short, one long, the ant on the short path will return to the nest faster. She will paint her trail more frequently. The scent on the short path will become stronger, fresher, and more intense. The scent on the long path, travelled less often, will fade. The colony does not need a leader to tell them which way to go. They simply follow the strongest scent. They calculate the shortest distance between 2 points using nothing but the evaporation of perfume. It is a swarm intelligence, a brain made not of neurons, but of thousands of tiny, moving bodies. Nature knows that wisdom is often distributed. No single ant knows the way, but the colony always finds it. And consider the army ant of the rainforest. These ants have no permanent nest. They are nomads, constantly moving through the jungle floor. When they encounter a gap they cannot cross, a stream, a chasm between two leaves, they do not turn back. They build a bridge, but they do not use wood or stone. They use themselves. Ants at the front of the line will hook their legs together, linking their bodies into a living chain. More ants join in, stretching across the void, holding on with a strength that, relative to their size, is staggering. They form a solid walkway of exoskeletons. The rest of the colony marches over their backs. When the last ant has crossed, the bridge disassembles itself. the living bricks untangling their legs and rejoining the march. Nature knows that we are stronger when we hold on to one another. It knows that the individual can become the structure that supports the whole. There is no ego in the ant bridge. The ant does not complain about being stepped on. It knows that its stillness is the only thing allowing the colony to move forward. It surrenders to the function of the moment. There is also a lesson in how they handle mistakes. If an ant loses the trail, it does not panic. It begins a search pattern, moving in widening circles until it picks up the scent again. It trusts that the trail is there. It trusts that the connection to the colony still exists, even if it is faint. As you lie in the quiet of your room, think of these invisible highways connecting the world. You do not always need to see where you are going to be on the right path. Sometimes life is about following a sense, a feeling, a faint intuition that says, this is the way. You do not need a map of the next 10 years. You just need to find the next step. Imagine your thoughts are like those scout ants. They have wandered far today, gathering worries and ideas. But now it is time to call them home. Imagine a gentle, calming scent, perhaps the smell of lavender or rain or old books, leading all your scattered thoughts back to the center. They are returning to the nest. They are following the chemical trail of sleep. The path is already laid down. Your body knows the way. You do not need to force it. Just follow the signal that is getting stronger with every slow breath you take. The colony of your cells is settling down. The bridge to tomorrow is built on the rest you take tonight. Let us drift away from the bustling earth and return to the shoreline, where the ocean meets the sand. Washed up on the beach, half buried in a drift of seaweed, lies a beautiful, pale shell. It is the shell of a chambered nautilus. It is creamy white with stripes of tiger orange, spiraling inward to a perfect dark center. If you were to pick it up and slice it open, you would see one of the most elegant examples of mathematics in the entire natural world. The nautilus is a living fossil. It has existed in our oceans for nearly 500 million years, surviving mass extinctions that wiped out the dinosaurs. It survived because of its design. The shell is not just a home, it is a time machine and a submarine all in one. As the nautilus grows, its soft body gets larger. It becomes too big for the little room it is living in. So it builds a new, larger chamber attached to the opening of the old one. It moves forward into this new room and seals the door behind it with a wall of mother of pearl. It leaves the old room empty. Over the course of its life, it builds chamber after chamber, spiraling outward. But here is the secret. It never disconnects from its past. Running through the center of the spiral, piercing through every single wall, is a tiny tube of living tissue called the siphuncle. Through this tube, the nautilus stays connected to every room it has ever lived in. Why does it keep the empty rooms? Nature knows that the past has a purpose. The nautilus uses these old, empty chambers to control its buoyancy. It pumps gas and water in and out of them through the tube. If it wants to dive deep into the dark to hide from a predator, it floods the old rooms with water, becoming heavy. If it wants to rise to the surface to feed under the moon, it pumps the water out and fills the rooms with gas, becoming light. It uses its history to float. It carries its past not as a burden, not as a heavy weight that drags it down, but as a flotation device. It transforms what it used to be into the vehicle that helps it navigate where it is right now. Nature knows that we grow by addition, not subtraction. We do not throw away our childhood, our mistakes, or our old selves. We keep them. We seal them off. Yes, we do not live in them anymore, but we keep the connection. They give us volume, they give us balance, and the shape of the shell itself is a miracle. It follows a precise mathematical curve known as a logarithmic spiral. As it grows, the shell widens, but its shape remains exactly the same. It is self-similar. This means the nautilus can grow forever without ever changing its fundamental proportions. It solves the problem of how to get bigger without losing your balance. It is a geometry of grace. We humans often struggle with growth. We think that to change, we must become someone entirely new. We reject our past selves. We look back with embarrassment or regret. But the Nautilus teaches us that the old chambers are necessary. Without them, it would sink to the bottom of the ocean and die. The tiny, tight spirals of its youth are the foundation for the wide, majestic spirals of its maturity. The Nautilus also teaches us about protection. Its shell is hard, beautiful, and mathematical, but the creature inside is soft and vulnerable. It knows that it needs a shield. When danger comes, it withdraws completely into the outermost chamber and pulls a tough, leathery hood over the opening. It shuts the door. It waits. It does not fight the shark. It simply becomes a stone until the danger passes. Nature knows that retreat is sometimes the bravest thing you can do. To close the door, to go inside, to wait. This is not weakness. It is survival. So tonight, as you curl up in your bed, imagine you are the Nautilus. You are retreating into your largest, most comfortable chamber, the present moment. You are safe here, but feel the spiral of your life behind you. All the days you have lived, all the rooms you have inhabited are still there, spiraling inward to your beginning. You do not need to live in them tonight. You have sealed them off with pearl, but they are making you buoyant. They are the reason you are floating here, alive and breathing. Let your breath move in and out like the gas in the chambers, adjusting your depth. You are sinking slowly now, not because you are heavy, but because you are choosing to dive. You are adjusting your buoyancy for sleep. You are drifting down into the warm, dark waters of rest, carried by the beautiful, perfect spiral of your own existence. The ocean holds you. The math of the universe holds you. You are exactly where you need to be. Let us drift now into the deepest part of the night. Imagine a forest where the moon is hidden behind thick clouds, and the darkness is absolute. In this world, sound is the primary currency. A snapping twig is an alarm. A rustling leaf is a signal. Most creatures that move through the air announce their presence. When a pigeon takes flight, you hear the chaotic clapping of wings. When a hawk dives, you hear the whoosh of air rushing over stiff feathers. We humans, too, are noisy creatures. We build engines that roar. Our footsteps are heavy. We fill the silence with the hum of our existence. But nature knows that sometimes true power lies in absolute silence. High in the branches of an old oak tree sits the barn owl. It is a ghost of the forest. When it decides to fly, it does not cut the air. It embraces it. It launches into the dark without a whisper. It can fly inches above the head of a mouse, and the mouse will hear nothing but the wind in the grass. How does the owl cheat the physics of sound? Nature knows fluid dynamics. The leading edge of the owl's primary wing feathers is not smooth like a knife. It is serrated like a comb. When air hits a smooth wing, it creates turbulence, tiny chaotic swirls of air that crash into each other and create noise. This is the whoosh you hear. But the owl's comb-like fringe breaks the air apart into tiny, manageable streams. It smooths out the turbulence before it can become sound. But nature went further. The surface of the owl's wing is covered in a soft, velvety down. If you were to touch it, it would feel like plush fabric. This softness absorbs the remaining high-frequency sounds, the tiny hisses of friction that might give the owl away. And the trailing edge of the wing is tattered and flexible, allowing the air to roll off gently without snapping back. The owl is a flying acoustic damper. It is nature's version of stealth technology, evolved millions of years before we built our first silent aircraft. The owl needs this silence not just to sneak up on prey, but to listen. Its face is a satellite dish. The round discs of feathers around its eyes are designed to capture sound and funnel it toward its ears. And its ears are asymmetrical. One is higher on the skull than the other. This uneven placement allows the owl to triangulate sound in 3 dimensions. It can hear a vole moving under 2 feet of snow. It flies through a map made of tiny scratches and heartbeats. There is a deep wisdom in this silence. We often think that to be effective, we must be loud. We think we need to make an impact, to crash through obstacles, to let the world know we are coming. But the owl teaches us the art of the soft approach. It moves through the world without disturbing it. It observes without interfering. It achieves its goal with a grace that renders it invisible. Nature knows that friction creates heat and noise, both of which are wasted energy. To move silently is to move efficiently. The owl does not fight the air. It cooperates with it so perfectly that the air does not even complain. As you lie in the quiet of your room, think about the noise in your own mind, the looping thoughts, the replay of conversations, the loud worries. Imagine applying the wisdom of the owl to your thoughts. Imagine covering those sharp, noisy worries with a soft, velvety down. Smooth out the turbulence. You do not need to fight the chaos of the mind. You just need to break it up into smaller, softer streams. Let your breathing become like the owl's flight, steady, rhythmic, and absolutely violent. Let it glide in and out without force. You are drifting through the night now, weightless and soundless. You are a ghost in your own life, in the most peaceful way. You are observing the darkness without fear. The world is sleeping, and you are gliding over it, carried by wings that know how to hold the silence sacred. You are safe in the velvet wrap of the night. Let us leave the canopy of the forest and shrink down, smaller and smaller, until we are microscopic specks floating in the vast, open ocean. We tend to think of gardens as places rooted in soil, filled with green leaves and colourful petals. But nature knows that the largest garden on earth is invisible to the naked eye, drifting in the upper layers of the sea. This is the world of the diatoms. They are single-celled algae, tiny phytoplankton that drift by the quintillions in the world's waters. But these are not just blobs of green goo, they are master jewelers. While plants on land use cellulose to build their cell walls, a tough fibrous material, diatoms do something stranger. They build their houses out of glass. They take silica, dissolved sand, from the ocean water and construct intricate, transparent shells around their tiny bodies. These shells, called frustules, are some of the most beautiful structures in the universe. If you look at them under a microscope, you see perfect geometric lacework. Stars, circles, triangles, and ribbons, all perforated with millions of tiny, precise holes. They look like pillboxes made of opal. Why glass? Nature knows that glass is strong. It creates a greenhouse effect for the tiny cell inside, letting the sunlight in so it can photosynthesize, but protecting it from the crushing jaws of tiny predators. It is an armoured solar panel, and because they are made of heavy glass, they do not float forever. They have to manage their buoyancy carefully, using oil droplets to stay near the sunlit surface. But here is the secret that keeps you alive right now. These tiny glass creatures are the lungs of the planet. We are taught to thank the rainforests for our air, and we should. But the diatoms and their plankton cousins produce somewhere between 50 and 80% of the oxygen in our atmosphere. Take a deep breath. Now take another. One of those breaths was given to you by the forest. The other was given to you by the invisible glass garden in the sea. Nature knows that the heavy lifting is often done by the smallest hands. These creatures work silently, harvesting the sun, splitting water molecules, and releasing the oxygen that fuels your blood. They do this without recognition, drifting in the currents, turning the ocean into a living broth of energy. And when they die, they perform one last act of service. Their tiny glass shells sink. They fall through the dark water like a ceaseless, glittery snow. This marine snow carries the carbon they captured from the atmosphere down to the bottom of the ocean. They lock it away in the sediment for millions of years. The white cliffs of Dover in England, those massive chalky walls, are the piled-up skeletons of ancient plankton. The very geography of our world is built from their microscopic labour. Nature knows that strength does not always look like muscle or stone. Sometimes strength looks like fragility. A single diatom shell is incredibly fragile. You could crush it with a thought, but together, they regulate the climate of the entire planet. They turn the sky blue. They feed the whales. They build the continents. There is a profound peace in thinking about these drifting jewels. They do not struggle against the current. They go where the water takes them. They trust the ocean completely. They just do their work, building their beautiful glass houses, making their breath of oxygen, and then they let go, falling slowly into the deep history of the earth. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine yourself becoming part of this microscopic garden. You are weightless, suspended in the cool, clear water. You are encased in a safe, beautiful shell of your own making. Perhaps a shell of warm blankets and quiet thoughts. You are transparent to the light. You do not need to steer. You do not need to swim. The current of the night is carrying you. Feel the rhythm of your breath again, in and out. Remember the connection to the diatoms. You are breathing in what they breathed out. You are connected to the ocean with every rise and fall of your chest. Let yourself sink slowly, like the falling shells, drifting down through the layers of the dark, down into the quiet, down into the sediment of sleep, where everything is still, and where the history of your dreams is waiting to be written. Let us bring our focus back to something small enough to hold in the palm of your hand, yet powerful enough to crack solid rock. Imagine a single acorn lying on the cool, damp floor of an autumn forest. To our eyes, it is just a small brown nut, smooth and hard like a polished stone. It sits motionless among the fallen leaves. It makes no sound. It generates no heat. It appears, for all intents and purposes, to be an inanimate object. But nature knows that this tiny shell is a vault of unimaginable complexity. Inside this acorn sits the entire blueprint for a massive oak tree. It holds the instructions for building roots that will seek water deep underground, a trunk that will withstand hurricane winds, and millions of leaves that will harvest the sun for centuries. It is a biological zip file, compressed data packed so tightly that we cannot comprehend the density of the information. Nature knows how to pack for a long journey. The seed is not just a set of instructions. It is a survival kit. Packed around the tiny embryo is a store of concentrated energy, starches and oils that will feed the young plant before it can ever see the sun. It is a packed lunch for the darkness underground. The mother tree has invested her energy into this capsule, ensuring her offspring has exactly what it needs to survive the most dangerous part of its life, the beginning. But the true genius of the seed lies in its sense of timing. A seed does not just grow the moment it hits the ground. If it did, the tender sprout might emerge in the middle of winter and freeze to death. Nature knows that patience is a matter of life and death. The seed has a built-in chemical clock. It is waiting for specific signals from the world. Some seeds, like those of the apple or the cherry, require stratification. They must experience a long period of cold before they will sprout. They need the winter. The cold breaks down chemical inhibitors inside the seed coat, slowly unlocking the mechanism of growth. The seed is counting the cold days. It knows that only after a long freeze is it safe to trust the warmth. It cannot be tricked by a single warm day in January. It waits for the true spring. Other seeds in the dry deserts are coated in a thick waxy varnish. They can sit in the scorching sand for years, decades even, waiting. They are waiting for rain, but not just a sprinkle. A sprinkle would not be enough to sustain a life. They need a deluge. The chemical coating is designed to wash away only after a significant amount of rainfall. Only then, when the water is deep enough to promise survival, does the seed wake up. Nature knows how to calculate risk and consider the strength of this awakening. We tend to think of plants as soft and weak, but have you ever seen a dandelion growing through a crack in a concrete sidewalk, or a tree root lifting a heavy stone slab? This is the power of turgor pressure. As the seed begins to drink, water rushes into its cells, expanding them with incredible force. The pressure inside a growing root tip can reach hundreds of pounds per square inch. It is a hydraulic drill. It moves slowly, invisibly, but with relentless determination. Nature knows that soft things, when fueled by water and time, can break the hardest obstacles. The acorn does not fight the earth. It pushes against it with a steady, quiet expansion that refuses to stop. There is a deep comfort in the wisdom of the seed. It teaches us that periods of darkness and burial are not the end. When a seed is buried in the soil, it looks like a funeral. It is covered up. It is in the dark. It is alone. But nature knows this is actually a planting. The darkness is not a tomb. It is a womb. It is the necessary environment for the shell to break and the real life to begin. As you lie in the dark of your room, imagine yourself as that seed. You are curled up, warm and safe under the covers. You are in the dark, but it is a benevolent darkness. You are not stuck, you are incubating. All the potential for your tomorrow is packed inside you. The energy, the ideas, the strength. You do not need to force them out right now. You are in the waiting phase. Trust your own internal timing. Just like the seed waits for the rain or the spring, you can wait for your energy to return. You do not need to bloom at 3 a.m. You can just exist as potential. You can rest in the knowledge that the blueprint is safe inside you. When the conditions are right, when the sun rises and the world warms up, you will know what to do. For now, just accept the safety of the shell. Sleep is your soil. Let it hold you. Let us lift our eyes from the forest floor and look up once more. But this time, not at the sun, but at the silver ghost that haunts our night sky, the moon. It hangs there, silent and cratered, a rock in the void. It seems so far away, nearly 240,000 miles of empty space between us. It feels disconnected from our daily lives, but nature knows that this distance is an illusion. The earth and the moon are holding hands gravitationally. They are dancers spinning together in the dark, and the moon, silent as it is the conductor of one of the greatest rhythms on our planet, the tides. Stand in your imagination on the edge of the ocean at night. The water is slick and black, reflecting the moonlight. Slowly, inch by inch, the water is creeping up the sand. It is not moving because of the wind. It is moving because the moon is pulling it. The gravity of the moon reaches across the vacuum of space and tugs on the oceans of Earth, creating a bulge of water that travels around the planet as we spin. Nature knows that water responds to gravity. The ocean is literally reaching for the moon. Twice a day, the world takes a deep breath, the high tide, and twice a day, it exhales, the low tide. This is the heartbeat of the planet. It is a rhythm that has continued without fail for billions of years. It is reliability in its purest form. But the moon's influence goes deeper than just moving water. Nature knows how to synchronize its clocks to this celestial rhythm. Travel with me to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. For most of the year, the corals sit quietly, looking like colourful stones. They are animals, vast colonies of tiny polyps, waiting. Then, on one specific night of the year, usually a few days after the full moon in late spring, a miracle happens. The entire reef, spanning hundreds of miles, wakes up at the exact same moment. As if on a silent signal, billions of coral polyps release their eggs and sperm into the water simultaneously. It is a blizzard of pink and white spheres, floating upward like an upside-down snowstorm. It is the largest synchronized event in the animal kingdom. How do they know? The corals have no eyes to see the moon. They have no brains to count the days. Yet, they possess primitive light sensors that can detect the subtle shift in the intensity of moonlight. They can taste the change in the tides. They wait for the perfect alignment of temperature, darkness, and lunar phase. Nature knows that for fragile spawn to survive hungry predators, they must overwhelm the ocean with life all at once. It is the same wisdom as the bamboo, but written in the language of the sea. Even on land, the moon pulls at life. There are species of crabs that scuttle down to the water to lay their eggs only on the high spring tides. ensuring the waves carry their young to safety. There are insects whose life cycles are pinned to the waxing and waning of the crescent. The fluids in plants, the sap rising and falling, are subtly influenced by this same gravitational tug. We are mostly water too. Is it so hard to believe that we might feel a faint echo of this pull? There is a profound peace in surrendering to a tide. A tide cannot be fought. You cannot stand on the beach and command the water to stop rising. It is bigger than you. It is older than you. Nature knows that the only way to deal with a tide is to float with it. If you swim against it, you exhaust yourself. If you float, it carries you. Sleep is a tide. It rises and falls in its own rhythm. Sometimes the tide of sleep is high, and it pulls you under quickly into deep, heavy dreams. Sometimes the tide is low, and you drift in the shallows, resting but aware. Both are natural. Both are part of the cycle. As you lie in bed, imagine you are floating on that dark, moonlit ocean. You are weightless. You do not need to swim. You do not need to struggle to stay afloat. The salt water holds you up effortlessly. Feel the gentle, slow rocking of the waves, up and down, in and out. This is the breath of the moon. You're connected to this cosmic rhythm. You're not isolated in this room. You are part of a planet that is breathing. Let the gravity of the moon pull the heaviness out of your limbs. Let the high tide of the night wash over you, covering the sands of the day, smoothing out the footprints, making everything clean and new. You can drift here for as long as you need. The tide will bring you back in the morning. For now, just let go and let the current take you. Let us now leave the rhythm of the tides and drift inland, far from the cooling ocean breeze, to a landscape that seems, at first glance, to be hostile and empty. Imagine the vast, sun-baked expanses of the desert. The air here is dry and thin. The silence is profound, broken only by the whisper of sand shifting across the dunes. To us, this is a place of scarcity, a place where life struggles. But nature knows that the desert is not empty. It is merely patient. It is a masterclass in the art of waiting and the genius of conservation. Stand in your mind's eye before the great saguaro cactus. It stands like a green sentinel against the blue sky, its arms raised in a silent, permanent wave. This giant has stood here for perhaps 150 years. It has seen droughts that lasted for decades. It has felt the blistering heat of 50,000 sunrises. Yet, it is full of water. Nature knows how to design a perfect reservoir. The saguaro is not a smooth cylinder. It is pleated like an accordion. This is a brilliant engineering solution to the problem of variable supply. When the rare desert rains finally fall, sometimes only once or twice a year, the saguaro wakes up. Its roots, which are shallow and spread out wide like a net just inches below the surface, drink greedily. They can absorb hundreds of gallons of water in a single storm. As it drinks, the cactus expands, the pleats unfold, the trunk swells, becoming round and heavy. It is storing the storm. It holds this water inside a sponge-like flesh that is fiercely protected by sharp spines. These spines do more than just fight off thirsty animals. They also provide shade. They break the airflow around the skin of the cactus, creating a tiny cooler microclimate right against the plant's surface, reducing evaporation. The saguaro knows that every drop matters. It knows that you must gather abundance when it is here, so that you can endure the scarcity when it comes. Now let your gaze wander to the horizon, where a silhouette moves slowly across the dunes. It is the camel, the ship of the desert. We often think of the camel as a clumsy, grumpy beast, but biologically, it is a miracle of adaptation. It walks across the shifting sand without sinking because its feet are wide, soft pads that spread its weight, acting like natural snowshoes for the sand. But the true genius is hidden inside. We all know the camel has a hump, and many believe it is filled with water. But nature knows better. Water sloshing around would be heavy and unstable. The hump is fat. It is a concentrated energy store, placed on the animal's back for a very specific reason. By concentrating its body fat in one place, on the roof of the house, so to speak, the camel leaves the rest of its body free of insulation. This allows heat to escape easily from its sides and belly. It is a biological cooling system. Even the camel's blood is engineered for survival. In most mammals, red blood cells are round. If we get dehydrated, our blood thickens and clogs, leading to failure. But the camel's blood cells are oval. They are shaped like rugby balls. Nature knows fluid dynamics. This shape allows them to flow smoothly, even when the blood is thick and water is scarce. And when the camel finally finds a waterhole, it can drink 30 gallons in 10 minutes. Those oval cells can swell to double their size without bursting, absorbing the flood. The camel is built to fluctuate. It does not demand a constant environment. It is designed to handle the extremes. There is a deep peace in this kind of resilience. The desert teaches us that we do not need to be full all the time to be okay. We can endure dry spells. We can survive the moments when inspiration or energy or happiness feels scarce. We have reserves. As you lie in your bed, imagine yourself possessing the patience of the saguaro. You do not need to chase after the rain. You are rooted. When the water comes, you will receive it. When it does not, you will stand tall using what you have stored. You are designed to weather the seasons of your life. Feel the heat of the day radiating off the desert floor, rising up into the cool night sky. The desert cools down rapidly after sunset. It lets go of the heat. You can do the same. Let the intensity of the day radiate away from you. Let the fever of busy thoughts dissipate into the cool, vast darkness. You are safe here, in the quiet. You have enough. You are enough. You can rest now, standing still in the center of your own silence, waiting for the gentle, inevitable return of the morning. Let us drift now from the muted browns and greens of the desert to a world of sudden shocking brilliance. Let us enter a tropical rainforest where the light filters through the canopy in shafts of gold, illuminating a flash of electric blue fluttering through the trees. It is the morpho butterfly, a creature so bright it looks like a piece of the sky has broken off and learned to fly. We humans love colour. We paint our walls, we dye our clothes. To make these colours, we use pigments, chemicals that absorb some light and reflect others. But pigments fade. They break down in the sun. The red shirt turns pink. The painting loses its vibrancy. Nature knows that true beauty requires a different approach. Nature knows the physics of light itself. If you were to catch a morpho butterfly and gently rub its wing, though you shouldn't, you would find a grey dust on your finger. The wing itself is not blue. It is made of a transparent protein called chitin, the same stuff that makes up a beetle's shell or a shrimp's tail. So where does the blue come from? It comes from structure. If you put that wing under a powerful microscope, you would see a landscape of tiny ridges, like a Christmas tree farm. These ridges are spaced perfectly, at the exact distance of the wavelength of blue light. When sunlight hits these ridges, it bounces off the different layers. The light waves interfere with each other. The red waves and the green waves cancel each other out. They are destroyed by the geometry. But the blue waves amplify. They stack on top of each other, bouncing back to your eye with an intensity that pigment could never achieve. This is called structural colour. The butterfly is not painted blue. It is sculpting the light to create blue. It is a trick of the light, a prism built into the very architecture of the wing. Because it relies on shape and not chemistry, this colour never fades. A museum specimen from 100 years ago shines just as brightly as a living butterfly today. Nature knows how to build beauty that lasts forever. This same genius is found in the peacock. The male peacock spreads his tail into a magnificent fan of iridescent eyes, greens, golds and teals. But the feathers are actually brown. They contain melanin, the same dark pigment in our skin. The rainbow comes from the microscopic crystal structures on the surface of the feathers. They are photonic crystals. They break the white light of the sun into its component colours, just like oil on a puddle or a diamond in a ring. Nature knows that reality is often a matter of perspective. Depending on the angle at which you look at a peacock feather or a hummingbird's throat, the colour shifts. It shimmers. It is dynamic. It interacts with the observer. It teaches us that what we see is not always what is there. It is a conversation between the object and the light. Think of the fragility of this beauty. The butterfly's wing is paper thin. A raindrop could crush it. Yet it carries this complex nanotechnology that our best scientists struggle to replicate. Nature puts its most sophisticated engineering into its most delicate vessels. It knows that you do not need to be heavy to be significant. You do not need to be made of steel to be strong. There is a metaphor here for our own lives. We often try to paint ourselves with achievements, with things we buy, with labels we wear. We try to add colour from the outside, but nature teaches us that the brightest light comes from your internal structure. It comes from who you are, the shape of your character, the way you reflect the world around you. You do not need to add pigment. You just need to be true to your own geometry. As you drift deeper into the night, imagine yourself shimmering like the butterfly wing. You are not solid and heavy. You are made of light and structure. You are a prism. All the experiences of your day, the good light and the bad light, are hitting you, but you are choosing what to reflect. You can cancel out the noise. You can amplify the peace. Let your thoughts flutter away like the butterfly, erratic and light. Do not try to pin them down. Let them flash their blue wings and disappear into the shadows of the forest. The forest is dark now. The show is over. The peacock has lowered his tail. The butterfly has folded its wings. Without the light, the colour rests. It is waiting for the sun. You can rest too. You do not need to shine right now. You do not need to be brilliant in the dark. You can just be the quiet, brown structure. The solid foundation, waiting for the morning to bring the light back. Sleep is the time when the prism rests. Close your eyes, let the colours fade into a comforting grey, and drift into the structureless, peaceful void of sleep. Let us descend now into the damp, shadowy undergrowth of the forest, to a place where the distinction between plant, animal, and fungi begins to blur. We are looking for something that defies easy categorization. It is not a mushroom, though it lives in the dark. It is not an animal, though it moves. It is a slime mould, a creature with a name that sounds unpleasant to our ears, but which possesses an elegance of logic that shames our most sophisticated computers. Specifically, we are looking at Physarum polycephalum, the many-headed slime. To the naked eye, it looks like a patch of yellow lace spread across a rotting log. It is a vibrant, pulsating web of bright canary yellow. It seems motionless, but if you were to watch it through time-lapse photography, you would see that it is very much alive. It flows, it expands like a slow-moving river of custard, searching for food. And here is the marvel. This creature has no brain, it has no neurons, it has no central nervous system. It is essentially a single, giant cell containing millions of nuclei, all floating in a shared bath of protoplasm. Yet, despite having no brain, the slime mould is a genius of geography. It is a master cartographer. Nature knows that intelligence does not always require a command center. Sometimes intelligence is simply the ability to find the most efficient connection between 2 points. Consider the famous experiment conducted by researchers in Japan. They took a map of the Tokyo area and placed oat flakes, the slime mould's favourite food, on the locations of the major cities. Then they placed the slime mould on the spot representing Tokyo. They let it grow. At first, the mould spread out in a chaotic, solid mat, exploring everywhere at once. But as it found the food sources, it began to change. It retracted its body from the empty spaces where there was no food. It thickened the connections between the oat flakes, reinforcing the tubes that were carrying the most nutrients. Within 24 hours, the slime mould had reorganized itself into a network of tubes. When the researchers looked closely, they realized that the pattern the mould had created was nearly identical to the actual railway system of Tokyo. It had recreated in a single day a transport network that human engineers had taken a century to design. It had found the perfect balance between efficiency, the shortest path, and resilience, having backup routes in case one line broke. It did this without meetings, without blueprints, and without a brain. It simply followed the physics of flow. How does it do this? Nature knows the power of the pulse. If you look at the slime mold under a microscope, you see a phenomenon called shuttle streaming. The fluid inside the tubes flows back and forth, pushed by rhythmic contractions of the cell walls. It is like a heartbeat pulsing about every 1 minute. When the mold finds food, the pulsing speeds up in that area. This faster pulse pushes more fluid into that section, expanding it. Where there is no food, the pulsing slows down and the tube withers away. It is a democracy of the body. The organism makes decisions based on local feedback. Every part of the mold is talking to every other part through the language of pressure and flow. It teaches us that you do not need to know the whole picture to make the right move. You just need to respond to what nurtures you. The slime mold also possesses a form of external memory. As it crawls, it leaves behind a trail of translucent slime. When it bumps into this slime later, it knows, I have already been here. It avoids the path it has already explored. It uses the world itself as a notepad. Nature knows that you do not need to hold everything in your head. You can offload your memory into your environment. There is a deep philosophical comfort in the slime mold's method. We humans often overthink. We try to calculate every possible outcome. We worry about making the perfect decision. We are paralyzed by the need for a master plan. But nature shows us that you can solve complex problems just by feeling your way forward. You can expand toward what feels good, what nourishes you, and gently retract from what does not. You do not need to force a solution. You can flow into the solution. As you lie in your bed, imagine your own energy like that yellow network. Perhaps during the day, your attention was spread out, covering 100 different tasks, worries, and conversations. You were expanded, thin, and stretched. But now, in the quiet of the night, it is time to retract. Imagine the outer edges of your awareness pulling back. Withdraw your energy from the emails, the news, the distant worries of the world. Let those unused pathways wither away for the night. Pull your focus inward, thickening the connections to the things that sustain you. Your breath, the warmth of the blankets, the beating of your heart. You are optimizing your network for sleep. You are finding the shortest, most efficient path to rest. You do not need a brain to do this. Your body knows how to settle. It knows how to slow the pulse, how to let the fluid of your thoughts settle into a calm, steady rhythm. Trust the flow. Let the unnecessary parts of the day fade, leaving only the essential, quiet core of you, pulsing gently in the dark. Let us drift now to a landscape of still, murky water. Imagine a pond in the heat of a summer afternoon. The water is brown and stagnant, thick with mud and algae. Insects buzz just above the surface. It is a messy, chaotic environment, full of decay and the churning of life. Yet rising straight out of this muck, standing tall on a slender green stalk, is a flower of absolute, startling purity. It is the lotus. The lotus flower is pink or white, perfect and pristine. Its large, round leaves float on the surface or rise above it like green umbrellas. And here is the mystery. Despite living in the mud, the lotus is never dirty. If you were to splash muddy water onto a lotus leaf, something magical would happen. The water would not spread out and wet the surface. Instead, it would bead up into perfect shimmering spheres, like liquid mercury. These beads of water would race across the leaf, rolling off the edges, and as they rolled, they would pick up every speck of dust, every particle of dirt, carrying it away. The leaf cleanses itself. When the rain stops, the lotus is dry and spotless. For centuries, poets and monks viewed this as a spiritual symbol, the ability to live in the world without being tainted by it. But nature knows it is also a triumph of physics and nanotechnology. This is the lotus effect. If you were to touch the leaf, it would feel smooth and waxy. But nature knows that smooth is not always the answer. If you looked at the leaf under a powerful electron microscope, you would see that the surface is actually rough. It is covered in billions of microscopic bumps, like a bed of nails. And on top of those bumps are even smaller, nanoscopic wax crystals. This rough texture is the secret. Because the surface is so bumpy on a microscopic scale, a drop of water can only touch the very tips of the peaks. It cannot get into the valleys. The water is suspended on a cushion of air. It touches less than 2% of the leaf's surface. Because the water hates the wax and loves itself, the surface tension pulls the drop into a tight ball. It refuses to stick. It wants to get away. Gravity takes over, and the drop rolls. And because the dirt particles are resting on the tips of the bumps too, they are barely holding on. The rolling water droplet grabs the dirt, which sticks to the water more than the leaf, and sweeps it away. It is a self-cleaning mechanism powered by rain and geometry. Nature knows that purity is not about avoiding the dirt. It is about not holding on to it. The lotus does not fight the mud. It does not try to change the pond. It simply creates a boundary, a microscopic structure that forbids the dirt from finding a foothold. It remains untouched because it does not cling. We humans often struggle with stickiness. We let a rude comment from a stranger stick to us for days. We let a mistake at work stain our entire weekend. We walk around carrying the mud of our past interactions. We try to scrub it off with worry, but that only rubs it on deeper. But the lotus teaches us a different way. It teaches us the wisdom of hydrophobicity. The fear of water, or rather, the refusal to absorb what is not yours. The lotus knows that its nature is distinct from its environment. It grows from the mud, but it is not of the mud. This technology is so brilliant that we are now copying it. We are making lotus effect paints for buildings that wash themselves in the rain. We are making fabrics that cannot be stained by coffee or wine. We are trying to engineer the indifference that the lotus possesses naturally. As you lie in the stillness of your room, imagine your mind becoming like the surface of the lotus leaf. Imagine that you are covering your thoughts in that microscopic, protective wax. You are creating a surface where stress cannot stick. Picture the worries of the day as muddy drops of water. They might land on you, yes, that is inevitable. We live in a muddy world, but imagine them beading up. They cannot soak in. They cannot stain you. They just sit there, round and separate, trembling on the surface of your peace. Now, imagine a gentle breath, or the tilt of your head into the pillow, tipping the leaf. Watch the worries roll off. Watch them slide away, taking the dust of the day with them, falling back into the pond of the past. They are gone. You are left dry, clean, and open. You do not need to scrub your mind. You just need to stop holding on. Let the friction go. Let gravity do the work. You are the pristine flower rising above the water. The darkness of the night is not a stain. It is simply the background for your rest. You are safe, you are clean, and you are ready to fold your petals in for the night, untouched by the world, resting in the center of your own quiet perfection. Let us slip back into the cool, embracing currents of the ocean. But this time, let us look not for the stillness of the deep or the camouflage of the reef, but for the masters of motion. Imagine a creature that has prowled the seas for 400 million years, surviving mass extinctions and shifting continents. It is the shark. We often think of the shark as a creature of brute force, a muscular torpedo designed to hunt. But nature knows that speed is not just about muscle, it is about the relationship between a surface and the medium it moves through. Like that. If you were to run your hand along the flank of a shark from head to tail, it would feel smooth, almost like satin. But if you were to run your hand the other way, from tail to head, it would feel like sandpaper. It would be rough and abrasive. This is because the shark is not covered in scales, like a goldfish or a salmon. It is covered in dermal denticles. These are essentially tiny teeth. The shark is wrapped in a suit of armor made of thousands of microscopic, interlocking teeth. But nature did not design this skin just for protection. It designed it for flow. If you look at a denticle under a microscope, you see ridges, tiny, parallel lines running down the length of the scale. These are called riblets. When a smooth object moves through water, the water tends to stick to the surface, creating swirling eddies and turbulence that drag the object back. It is invisible friction, it steals energy. But the shark's rough skin breaks up these eddies. The riblets channel the water into fast-moving streams that hug the body tight. They prevent the chaos of turbulence from forming. By being rough, the shark becomes slippery. It slices through the water with an efficiency that our best submarines are still trying to mimic. Nature knows that sometimes a little texture, a little roughness, actually makes the journey smoother. This skin has another miraculous property. It stays clean. In the ocean, everything gets covered in life. Barnacles, algae, and bacteria are constantly looking for a place to land and grow. Whales are often covered in barnacles. Ships' hulls have to be scraped clean. But you never see a mossy shark. The shape of the denticles creates a surface that is mathematically impossible for bacteria to cling to. They cannot find a foothold on the ridges. The movement of the water washes them away. It is a passive defense. The shark does not need to release chemicals or spend energy cleaning itself. Its very geometry keeps it pure. We are now copying this pattern in hospitals, creating plastic films with shark skin textures to put on door handles and tables, preventing germs from settling without using antibiotics. Nature knows that the best way to stay healthy is to create an environment where sickness cannot take root. There is a lesson here about how we move through our own lives. We often try to be perfectly smooth. We want everything to be easy. We want to avoid all friction. We think that if we are polished and perfect, life will be effortless. But the shark teaches us that roughness, our quirks, our textures, our unique ridges, might actually help us move forward. Resistance is part of the journey. The water resists the shark, but the shark uses that resistance to push off against. It channels the stress of the water into speed. It does not fight the ocean. It structures itself to flow with it. As you lie in your bed, feeling the heaviness of the blankets, think of the air and the space around you as a fluid. You are moving through time right now. Imagine your mind has the texture of the shark's skin. You are streamlining. The worries of the day, the turbulence, the chaotic swirling thoughts are hitting you, yes, but they are not sticking. They are being channeled into straight, fast lines that slide right off your back. You are shedding the drag. You are not holding on to the barnacles of the past. You are clean, aerodynamic, and moving effortlessly into the deep waters of sleep. You do not need to kick or struggle. You have evolved for this environment. The dark is your ocean, and you know exactly how to glide through it in perfect silence. Let us leave the ocean now and come ashore as the sun begins to set. We find ourselves in a tall grass meadow on a warm summer evening. The air is humid and smells of damp earth and blooming honeysuckle. As the twilight deepens into purple and then black, the ground begins to twinkle. First one flash, then another, then 100. It is the firefly, nature's tiny lantern, dancing in the dark. We humans have a long history of chasing away the dark. We built fires, then candles, then gas lamps, and finally electric bulbs. But for most of our history, our light came with a cost, heat. An old-fashioned incandescent light bulb is incredibly wasteful. 90% of the energy it uses is turned into heat, not light. If you touch it, you burn your finger. We were burning things to see, but nature knows a better way. The firefly holds a secret called bioluminescence. Inside its abdomen, it mixes a chemical called luciferin with an enzyme called luciferase. When oxygen is added to this mix, a reaction occurs that releases energy. But unlike a candle or a light bulb, this energy is released almost entirely as light. It is cold light. The firefly is nearly 100% efficient. It wastes almost nothing as heat. If a firefly got hot like a light bulb, it would cook itself to death in seconds. Nature knows that energy is precious. It knows how to create brilliance without the burn. It knows how to shine without destroying the vessel. And there is a language in this light. The firefly is not just flashing randomly, it is speaking. Each species of firefly has its own unique flash pattern, a Morse code of light. Some flash quickly, blink, blink, blink. Others hold a long, slow glow, glow off. They are signaling to mates in the grass, saying, "I am here. I am one of you." In some places, like the Great Smoky Mountains, thousands of fireflies learn to synchronize. They flash together in a perfect rhythm, lighting up the entire forest like a heartbeat. On, off, on, off. How do they do this? They watch their neighbours. If a firefly sees a flash nearby, it adjusts its own internal clock to match. They surrender their individuality to become a single, pulsing organism of light. Nature knows that beauty is amplified when we work in unison. There is a gentleness to this light. It does not blind you. It does not banish the darkness. It decorates it. It invites you to look closer. It reminds us that even the smallest spark can be seen for miles if the background is dark enough. We often feel that we need to burn brightly to be successful. We talk about burning out. We think that passion and effort must be hot, frantic, and exhausting. But the firefly teaches us the wisdom of the cool burn. You can be brilliant without being consumed. You can give off light without losing your cool. You can share your gifts with the world efficiently, preserving your energy for the next night. And think of the chemistry required to make this light. It requires oxygen. The firefly controls the flash by regulating the airflow into its abdomen. It breathes the light into existence. When it holds its breath, it goes dark. When it breathes, it shines. As you lie in the quiet of your room, bring your attention to your own breath. You are not so different from the firefly. With every inhale, you are bringing in the fuel you need. With every exhale, you are releasing what is used. Imagine that with every breath out, you are emitting a soft, cool light. It is not a light that requires effort. It is just the natural glow of your existence. You are signaling to the universe that you are here, that you are alive, and that you are at peace. You do not need to burn with worry tonight. You do not need to generate the heat of anxiety. You can turn that switch off. Switch over to the firefly's method. Be cool, be efficient. Let your light be a soft pulse in the darkness, a rhythm of rest. Breathe in, breathe out, glow. You are part of the synchronized silence of the night. The forest is full of other lights, other sleepers, all pulsing together in the slow rhythm of the turning earth. You are safe to shine quietly, all by yourself in the velvet dark. Let us leave the flickering dance of the fireflies in the meadow and allow our minds to float upward. Imagine rising slowly through the warm summer air, passing the tops of the sleeping oak trees, passing the clouds that drift like silent ships in the night. As we go higher, the air grows thinner and cooler. The sounds of the earth, the crickets, the rustling leaves, the distant hum of the city fade into absolute silence. We are reaching the boundary where our home meets the void. We tend to think of space as a dangerous place, filled with radiation and solar winds that would strip our planet bare if given the chance. And this is true. The sun, our life-giver, is also a nuclear furnace constantly blasting charged particles toward us at 1,000,000 miles an hour. But nature knows how to build a shield. It does not use lead walls or force fields of glass. It uses magnetism. Deep beneath your feet, thousands of miles down, the Earth's core is spinning. It is a ball of molten iron and nickel, churning and roiling. This movement acts like a dynamo, generating a massive, invisible magnetic field that reaches out into space, wrapping the entire planet in a protective bubble called the magnetosphere. This is nature's deflective armor. When the solar wind slams into Earth, it does not hit the surface. It hits this magnetic field. Nature knows the martial art of the cosmos. Do not stop the force, redirect it. The magnetic field catches the charged particles and funnels them harmlessly around the planet, guiding them toward the poles. And here is where the science becomes poetry. When these particles interact with the gases in our upper atmosphere, oxygen and nitrogen, they excite the atoms. They make them glow. This is the aurora borealis, the northern lights, ribbons of emerald green, violet, and blood red dance across the polar skies. We see this as beautiful, perhaps the most beautiful sight in nature, but the sleepy scientist knows it is functional. It is the visible sign of our protection. It is the earth wrestling with the sun and turning the conflict into art. Nature knows that even a shield can be a canvas. It does not hide its strength, it illuminates it. Think of the fragility of the atmosphere itself. If you could drive a car straight up, you would reach space in about an hour. That is how close the void is. The layer of air that keeps us alive is, relatively speaking, as thin as the skin on an apple. Yet nature holds it there, with the perfect amount of gravity. If Earth were slightly smaller, like Mars, its gravity would be too weak, and the air would drift away. If it were larger, like Jupiter, the gravity would be crushing, trapping thick, toxic gases. Nature found the Goldilocks zone. It knows balance. It holds onto the oxygen, just tight enough to keep it here, but loose enough to let us move through it. It is a delicate embrace that has lasted for billions of years. And consider the ozone layer, high in the stratosphere. It is made of 3 oxygen atoms bonded together. Down here on the surface, ozone is a pollutant, but up there it is a sunscreen. It absorbs the deadly ultraviolet light from the sun. Nature knows that everything has its place. A molecule that is harmful in one place is a savior in another. It puts the chemistry where it is needed most. As you lie in your bed, safe under the roof of your home, remember that you are also safe under the roof of the world. You're inside the magnetic bubble. The core of the planet is spinning right now, doing the work of protection so you do not have to. You can feel the weight of the blankets on you, a physical reminder of the atmosphere pressing down, holding you to the earth. You do not need to worry about the vastness of space tonight. The earth has its shield up. The auroras are dancing in the silence of the north, burning up the danger before it can ever touch you. You are cradled in a fragile but resilient blue marble, wrapped in invisible armour, drifting safely through the dark. Let us now cross that thin blue line. Let us drift freely into the velvet blackness of space. Here the stars are not twinkling dots. They are steady burning suns. The silence here is profound. It is not just the absence of noise, it is the presence of the infinite. And as we look at the stars, we are about to learn the greatest secret nature possesses, the secret of your origin. We often feel small when we look at the universe. We feel like tiny, insignificant observers looking out at a massive, alien system. But nature knows that this separation is an illusion. You are not in the universe. You are of the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself. Look at your hand resting on the bedsheet. Look at the skin, the veins, the bones underneath. Where did the atoms that make up your hand come from? The hydrogen in the water of your cells came from the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago. It is the oldest matter in existence. But the carbon in your DNA, the calcium in your teeth, the iron in your blood that carries oxygen to your brain, the universe did not start with these elements. In the beginning, there was only hydrogen and helium, a simple, gas-filled cosmos. Nature knew that to create complexity, to create rocks, trees, oceans, and you, it needed a forge. It needed alchemy. So it built the stars. A star is not just a ball of fire, it is a factory. Deep in its core, under crushing pressure and heat, the star takes simple atoms and smashes them together. It fuses hydrogen into helium, then helium into carbon and oxygen and neon. It cooks the elements. For millions of years the star works, building the periodic table in its heart. But nature knows that keeping these treasures locked inside a star is useless. They need to be shared. So, nature invented the supernova. When a massive star reaches the end of its life, when it has fused everything it can, it collapses and then explodes with the brightness of a billion suns. In that violent, beautiful moment, the star sacrifices itself. It blasts all the carbon, calcium, gold, and iron it created out into the cosmos. These great clouds of dust drift for eons. Eventually, gravity pulls them together again to form new stars and new planets and eventually life. Every atom of iron in your blood was once inside a star that exploded. The gold in your wedding ring was forged in the collision of neutron stars. You are made of cosmic debris. You are, quite literally, stardust that has learned to sit up and think. Nature knows that death is the prerequisite for life. Without the death of those ancient stars, you would not be here. The universe recycles everything. It wastes nothing. The atoms that make up your body right now have been part of nebulae, part of asteroids, maybe part of a dinosaur or a fern in a prehistoric forest. They are just borrowing your form for a little while. There is a deep, resonant peace in this knowledge. You belong here. You fit into this universe perfectly because you're made of the same fabric as the galaxies. You are not a stranger wandering through a strange land. You are home. The laws of physics that govern the swirling of a galaxy are the same laws that govern the swirling of the milk in your coffee. The gravity that holds the moon in orbit is the same gravity that holds you to your mattress. Nature does not have two sets of rules, one for out there and one for down here. It is all one continuous story. As you drift closer to sleep, let the boundaries of your body dissolve a little. You are not just a person in a room. You are a collection of ancient atoms resting. You are a piece of the cosmos that has curled up to take a nap. Feel the iron in your blood, ancient stellar iron, pumping slowly through your veins. Feel the calcium in your bones, white dust from a dead star, supporting your weight. You are a monument to the history of the universe. You are vast, you are ancient, and tonight you can rest in the knowledge that the stars above you are not your distant masters. They are your ancestors. They are watching over you, their silent kin, as you drift back into the stardust of your dreams. Let us float further out now, pulling back until our entire solar system is nothing more than a speck of light in the distance. If we were to continue zooming out, passing millions of galaxies, something extraordinary would happen to the view. We often imagine space as a dark, empty void, scattered with random islands of light. We think of galaxies as lonely travellers drifting in nothingness. But nature knows that nothing is truly disconnected. Nature knows that to build a universe, you need a skeleton. If you could put on a pair of glasses that allowed you to see the true structure of the cosmos, you would not see a random scatter. You would see a web. The universe looks remarkably like the neural network inside your brain, or the root system of a forest. It is a vast, glowing tapestry of filaments. Galaxies are strung like pearls along these invisible threads, congregating at the majestic nodes where the filaments intersect. This is the cosmic web. But here is the mystery. The visible matter, the shining stars and glowing gas, makes up only a tiny fraction of this structure. The rest is invisible. It is built of dark matter. We cannot see it, touch it, or reflect light off it, but we know it is there because of its gravity. Nature knows how to build with invisible ink. Dark matter provides the scaffolding for the universe. It is the silent architect. Billions of years ago, before the first star ignited, nature laid down these tracks of dark matter. It created deep wells of gravity that pulled the ordinary gas together. Without this invisible guide, the gas would have remained thin and spread out. There would be no galaxies, no stars, and no planets. Nature knew that the visible world needs an invisible support system to hold it together. Think of it like the spider web we looked at earlier. The silk is thin and barely visible, yet it holds the dewdrops. The galaxies are the dewdrops. The dark matter is the silk. It is a lesson in humility. The things we can see, the bright, loud, obvious things, are often just the decorations. The real structure, the thing that holds reality in place, is often hidden, silent, and unnoticed. And this web is not static. It is alive with slow motion. The galaxies are flowing along these filaments like rivers of light, pouring toward the great clusters. Gravity is the geometry that guides them. It is a slow-motion drainage of the cosmos, organizing itself over billions of years. Nature does not rush this construction. It builds on a timescale that makes a human life look like a flicker of a candle. There is a profound comfort in knowing that the universe is woven together. We are not isolated specks. We are part of a grand, interconnected mesh. Just as the mycelium connects the trees in the forest, gravity and dark matter connect the galaxies in the void. The fabric of space-time itself is the cloth upon which this web is drawn. As you lie in the dark, imagine this vast, benevolent web surrounding you. You are a tiny, precious knot in this cosmic fabric. You are held in place by the same forces that hold the Milky Way together. You do not need to worry about falling out of the universe. The scaffolding is strong. The invisible arms of nature are wrapped around everything, holding the shape of the dark, keeping the structure of the night intact while you sleep. Let us listen now. In space, they say, there is no sound because there is no air to carry the waves. But if you could listen with a radio telescope, if you could tune your ears to the frequency of the cosmos itself, you would hear something. You would hear a faint, steady hiss, a static that comes from every direction at once, never changing, never stopping. This is not noise. This is a memory. This is the cosmic microwave background, or the CMB. It is the oldest light in existence. It is the afterglow of the Big Bang itself. Nature knows how to keep a record. When the universe was born, it was unimaginably hot and dense, a soup of pure energy. It was so crowded that light couldn't even travel. It was trapped in a fog of particles. But when the cosmos was just 380,000 years old, it expanded and cooled enough for the fog to clear. In that instant, the first light was set free. It flashed across the universe. Over 13 billion years, as the universe has stretched, that light has stretched with it. What was once blindingly bright, visible light has cooled and lengthened into invisible microwaves. But it is still here. It is filling the room you are sleeping in right now. Nature knows that energy never dies. It just changes form. The scream of the birth of the universe has softened into a whisper. It has become a lullaby. This radiation is a snapshot of the universe in its infancy. It is filled with tiny fluctuations, subtle ripples in density that eventually grew into the galaxies and stars we see today. Think about the intimacy of this. If you turn on an old television set between channels, a small percentage of that snow, the static on the screen, is actually caused by this ancient light. You are watching the Big Bang. You are seeing the oldest ghost in nature. The universe is bathed in this relic of warmth. The temperature of space is not absolute zero. It is about 2.7 degrees above absolute zero, warmed by this ancient blanket of photons. Nature has kept the embers of creation glowing for us. It reminds us that we are living in the aftermath of a great event. We are the cooling ashes of a fire that started everything. There is a deep peace in this static. It is the white noise of eternity. It tells us that the universe has a history, that it remembers where it came from. And because this light is everywhere, coming from the north, south, east and west with perfect uniformity, it tells us that on the grandest skala, the universe is smooth and fair. It is not chaotic, it is balanced. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine this faint, ancient energy passing through the walls, passing through the window, passing through you. It is a connection to the very beginning of time. You are being touched by the first light. It is a gentle, invisible embrace from the dawn of creation. Let the static of your own mind fade into this cosmic static. Let your worries be drowned out by the vast, quiet hum of the universe. You are part of a story that has been unfolding for billions of years. Tonight you are just turning the page. The oldest light in the universe is watching over you, a nightlight that has never gone out, promising that the dark is not empty, but filled with the memory of light. Let us drift now to a place of immense beauty and silence, deep within the spiral arms of our galaxy. Imagine floating toward a vast, glowing cloud suspended in the vacuum. It is a nebula. To our eyes, it looks like a painting, swirls of pink, violet and gold, towering pillars of dust that stretch for light years. It looks static, frozen in time. But nature knows that this is not a painting. It is a factory. It is a stellar nursery. We often think of space as empty, but these clouds are filled with potential. They are made of hydrogen gas and tiny grains of dust, the leftovers of ancient stars that died long ago. Nature knows how to recycle. It knows that the ash of the past is the seed of the future. In these cold, dark clouds, nature is building new suns. The process is incredibly slow and gentle. It begins with gravity. A random clump of dust becomes slightly heavier than its surroundings. It begins to pull more dust toward it. It whispers to the cloud, drawing it in. Slowly, over millions of years, the cloud begins to collapse inward. Nature knows the physics of the spin. As the cloud shrinks, it begins to rotate. Just like a figure skater pulling in her arms to spin faster, the collapsing cloud spins. It flattens into a disk. In the center, the pressure builds. It gets hotter and denser. The darkness is being squeezed until it can no longer hold its shadow. And then, in a moment of ignition, nuclear fusion begins. A star is born. This is the wisdom of the nebula. It teaches us that pressure is necessary for brilliance. The star does not just appear, it is forged. It is the result of a long, patient gathering of scattered pieces. Nature knows that you cannot rush the creation of light. And consider the pillars of dust that remain around the new star. They are not swept away instantly. They form a protective cocoon, shielding the infant star from the harsh radiation of the rest of the galaxy. They are the stellar womb. Eventually, the star's own light will blow the dust away, revealing it to the universe. But for a long time, it is hidden. There is a lesson here about our own growth. We often want to reveal our work, our ideas, or our new selves to the world immediately. But nature knows the value of the hidden phase. It knows that fragile things need a dark, quiet place to gain strength before they shine. As you lie in the quiet of your room, imagine you're inside one of these nebulas. You are floating in a cloud of soft, protective dust. You are in the gestation phase. You do not need to shine right now. You are gathering your energy. You are letting gravity pull the scattered parts of your mind back to the center. Feel the slow, gentle spin of your breath. With every inhale, you are pulling energy in. With every exhale, you are settling deeper into the core of your rest. You are a star in the making, safe in the nursery of the night, waiting for the right moment to ignite. Let us look out from our nebula now, across the vast distances of the universe. When we look at the sky, we feel like we are seeing the universe as it is right now. But nature knows that now is an illusion. Nature knows that to look out is to look back. Light travels fast, 186,000 miles per second. It is the cosmic speed limit, but the universe is so big that even light takes time to get anywhere. When you look at the moon, you are not seeing the moon as it is. You are seeing it as it was 1.3 seconds ago. When you look at the sun, you are seeing it as it was 8 minutes ago. If the sun were to vanish, we would not know for 8 whole minutes. We would still feel its warmth and see its light, living in a ghost of the past. And the stars are deep history. The light from the North Star left its surface hundreds of years ago, perhaps around the time Shakespeare was writing his plays. It has been travelling through the void ever since, carrying the image of that star across the centuries, just to hit your eye tonight. When you look at the Andromeda Galaxy, you are looking back 2.5 million years. You are seeing light that started its journey before modern humans even walked the Earth. Nature knows how to preserve history. The universe is a museum of its own past. Nothing is ever truly lost. The image of every event is still streaming out into the cosmos. Somewhere, far away, the light from the dinosaurs is still travelling. Somewhere, the light from your childhood is still moving through the stars. This is the wisdom of the delay. We are often frustrated by distance, by the time it takes to get things or reach people. But nature uses distance to hold on to time. The vastness of space allows the past to exist alongside the present. The sky is a tapestry of different times, all woven together into one view. There is a profound comfort in this. It means we are never truly alone in the dark. The light from the past is always arriving. We are constantly being touched by the history of the cosmos. The stars are sending us postcards from long ago, reminding us that we are part of a long, unbroken chain of events. As you lie in your bed, think of the light of the stars filtering through your window. It has travelled so far to be with you. It is tired light, ancient light, settling softly on your blankets. You can let go of the pressure of the now. The universe does not operate on instant time. It operates on deep time. You can take your place in this slow river of history. You are receiving the light of the past, and you are radiating your own warmth into the future. You are a bridge in time. Let yourself drift backward into the comfort of memory, or forward into the drift of dreams. The strict ticking of the clock does not matter here. In the eyes of the universe, all times are connected. You are safe in the eternal pause of the night, watched over by the ghosts of a billion stars. Let us float now near a planet, perhaps our own Earth, a blue marble hanging in the void. Look closely at the moon. It seems to be floating, suspended by an invisible string, but nature knows that nothing in space actually floats. Everything is falling. We tend to think of falling as a failure, a loss of control, a crash waiting to happen. But nature knows that if you fall with enough style, you can fly forever. This is the secret of the orbit. Imagine Isaac Newton sitting under his apple tree. He saw the apple fall straight down, but then he imagined a cannon on a very tall mountain. If he fired the cannonball gently, it would curve down and hit the ground. If he fired it harder, it would travel further before landing. But nature knows there is a perfect speed, about 17,500 miles per hour for low Earth orbit. If you fire the ball at exactly this speed, it falls toward the Earth. But because the Earth is round, the ground curves away beneath it. The cannonball falls forever, constantly missing the ground. That is what the moon is doing. That is what the International Space Station is doing. They are in a state of eternal, weightless surrender. They are not using engines to stay up. They have simply accepted gravity completely. They have turned a fall into a dance. There is a profound lesson in this free fall. The astronauts inside the station feel weightless. They float, but they are not free from gravity. Gravity is actually pulling them almost as hard as it pulls us. The difference is that they are not resisting. On Earth, we feel weight because the ground pushes back against us. We feel the struggle. In orbit, there is no pushback, there is only the flow. Nature knows that the path of least resistance can sometimes be a circle. It knows that you do not always need to fight the pull. Sometimes you just need to move sideways fast enough to turn the pull into a path. As you lie in your bed, imagine that you are in orbit. You are not heavy, you are just held. You are falling gently into the mattress, and the mattress is curving to meet you, holding you in a perfect embrace. You do not need to hold yourself up. You can stop firing your engines. You can stop trying to steer. Just let go. Let gravity take over. Like the moon, you are safe in this cycle. You are moving through the night on a trajectory that was calculated by the physics of the universe. You will not crash, you will simply circle through the darkness, carried by the invisible hand of the earth, until you come back around to the sunrise. Let us travel now to the deep, mysterious centres of the galaxies. Here, we find the giants of the universe, black holes. For a long time, we feared them as monsters, devouring light and stars, but nature knows them as the ultimate anchors. They are the heavy hearts that hold the galaxies together, and they hold a secret about time itself. We think of time as a constant ticking clock that never changes, but nature knows that time is flexible. It is like molasses. It can be stretched and thickened. The heavier an object is, the slower time moves near it. This is called gravitational time dilation. If you were to travel close to a black hole, not falling in, just hovering near the edge, time for you would slow down. compared to your friends back on Earth. For every minute that passes for you, years might pass for the rest of the universe. You would be living in a slow-motion bubble. At the very edge of the black hole, there is a boundary called the event horizon. It is the point of no return. But in the poetic language of physics, it is also a place where time effectively stops. To an outside observer, a clock falling toward the horizon would tick slower and slower until it froze forever. Nature knows that there is a place where the rushing stops. There is a place where the frantic pace of the universe quiets down into an eternal pause. The black hole is not just a destroyer, it is a preserver. It locks moments in amber. It wraps space around itself like a blanket, tight and secure. We often feel that time is slipping away from us. We rush to catch up, but the universe teaches us that time is relative. It depends on where you are and how heavy you are. When you're heavy with sleep, when you sink deep into the gravity of rest, time slows down for you too. Think of deep sleep as your own personal event horizon. It is a boundary you cross every night. Beyond that line, the ticking clock on the wall does not matter. The deadlines of tomorrow do not exist. You are in the singularity of rest. As you drift closer to that edge now, do not be afraid to cross over. Let the gravity of sleep pull you in. Let the world outside speed away while you slow down. Slower, slower, until the minutes stretch into hours of restoration. You are entering the zone of timelessness. You are safe here, hidden in the velvet shadow, where the universe waits for you to be ready before it starts the clock again. Let us drift now into the deepest silence imaginable. We are floating in the void between galaxies, a place so empty that a single atom might travel for 1,000 years without bumping into another. In this profound stillness, we might assume that nothing is happening. We might think the universe is a static stage where stars merely sit and burn. But nature knows that space is not a stage. It is a fabric. And like any fabric, it can wrinkle, it can stretch, and it can ripple. For centuries, we believed that gravity was a force that pulled things together instantly across space. But nature knows that nothing happens instantly. Information must travel. When two massive objects, like two black holes, heavy with the weight of collapsed stars, begin to dance around each other in the dark, they do not just move through space, they churn it. They drag the fabric of the universe with them. As they spiral inward, spinning faster and faster, approaching the speed of light, they strike the drum of space-time. They release energy, not as light, not as radio waves, but as gravitational waves. These are ripples in the very structure of reality. Imagine dropping a heavy stone into a perfectly still, dark pond. The ripples move outward in perfect circles. These gravitational waves travel outward from the collision, moving at the speed of light, passing through stars, passing through planets, passing through you. When a gravitational wave passes through the Earth, it stretches and squeezes the entire planet. It changes the distance between you and the wall. It changes the shape of the atoms in your body, but nature is subtle. The change is so incredibly minute, less than the width of a fraction of a proton, that we cannot feel it. We go about our days, drinking our coffee and sleeping in our beds, completely unaware that we are being gently stretched by a cataclysm that happened 1 billion years ago in a galaxy far away. Nature knows that everything is connected by this trembling web. It knows that a movement here eventually touches something there, no matter how far away it is. The universe is sensitive. It feels every shift of mass. It listens to the heaviness of its own components. We built massive detectors, giant L-shaped tunnels with lasers, to finally hear this chirp of the universe. When we turned them on, we heard a faint whoop sound, the signal of two black holes merging. It was the first time we listened to the universe instead of just looking at it. We realized that the cosmos has been singing to itself in the language of gravity for eons. There is a deep comfort in this interconnectedness. It means that isolation is a myth. Even in the emptiest void, the fabric of space connects you to the farthest star. You are part of the same sheet. When the universe shivers, you shiver with it, in a dance so subtle it is felt only by the atoms themselves. As you lie in your bed, imagine that you are floating on this great ocean of space-time. You are not separate from the bed or the room. You are resting on the curvature of the world. If a wave from the deep universe were to pass through you right now, it would only be a gentle massage of your existence, a reminder that you are woven into the tapestry. You do not need to be rigid. You do not need to hold your shape against the world. You can be flexible. You can stretch and compress with the rhythm of the night. Let the invisible ripples carry you. You are made of the same stuff as the stars that made the waves. You are the receiver of the universe's oldest secrets, resting quietly while the gravity of the cosmos sings its silent lullaby. Let us expand our view now. We step back from the Earth, back from the Sun, until our entire solar system appears as a single bright point of light. We are looking down at the Milky Way galaxy. It is a magnificent glowing spiral, a pinwheel of diamond dust spinning slowly in the dark. Shutterstock! We mark our lives by the Earth's journey around the Sun, a single year, 365 days. We celebrate birthdays and anniversaries based on this loop, but nature keeps a different calendar. Nature operates on the scale of the galactic year. Our Sun is not stationary. It is one of hundreds of billions of stars, and it is surfing on a wave of gravity, orbiting the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy. But this journey is vast beyond comprehension. The Sun is moving at 500,000 miles per hour, a speed that would get you from New York to London in seconds. Yet, the galaxy is so huge that it takes the Sun roughly 230 million Earth years to complete just one single lap. Think about that. One galactic year. The last time our solar system was in this exact spot. In the galaxy, humans did not exist. The dinosaurs were just beginning to rise. The continents on Earth were mashed together into the supercontinent Pangaea. Flowers had not evolved yet. The Atlantic Ocean was just a puddle. We have travelled all the way around the wheel of the galaxy since then. We have sailed through spiral arms filled with gas and dust. We have passed through the wake of exploding stars. We are cosmic travellers on a ship that never docks. Nature knows that home is a moving target. We tend to think of our location as fixed. We have our address, our city, our country. But in reality, we are hurtling through the void at breakneck speeds, constantly exploring new regions of the Milky Way. We never wake up in the same place in the universe twice. Every second, we are thousands of miles from where we were a heartbeat ago. There is a freedom in this motion. It teaches us that stagnation is impossible. Even if you feel stuck in your life, even if you feel like you are standing still, you are not. You are moving. You are evolving. You are being carried forward by forces much larger than your own will. The entire galaxy is protecting you, holding you in its gravity, and carrying you toward a new era. The Sun does not worry about where it is going. It does not try to steer the galaxy. It trusts the orbit. It trusts the center. It knows that the cycle is long, and there is time for everything. As you lie in the quiet of your room, feel the phantom motion of this journey. You are safe in your bed, yes, but your bed is on a planet, and that planet is on a starship made of plasma, and that ship is sailing the great dark ocean of the Milky Way. You're on a grand tour of the heavens, and you do not even need to pack a bag. You can sleep through the journey. The captain, nature itself, has the wheel. The gravity is set. The course is true. Let go of the need to control your direction, for tonight, you are being taken exactly where you need to be. The stars outside your window are your fellow passengers, drifting alongside you in the same great stream. Close your eyes and enjoy the ride. The galaxy is turning, slowly and silently, rocking you into the deepest, most ancient rhythm of all. Let us float now in the space between the stars, looking out at the distant universe. When we humans want to see something far away, we build telescopes. We grind glass lenses with incredible precision, smoothing them until they are perfect curves, hoping to capture faint light. We think of a lens as something fragile, something made of glass or crystal held in a metal frame. But nature knows that the best lenses are not made of matter at all. They are made of gravity. Imagine a cluster of galaxies, thousands of them bound together by dark matter. Sitting in the dark, it is the most massive object in the universe. It is so heavy that it creates a deep well in the fabric of space. Now imagine a tiny, faint galaxy hiding directly behind this cluster, billions of light years further away. By all rights, we should not be able to see it. It is blocked. It is hidden behind the wall of the cluster. But nature knows how to bend the rules. As the light from that hidden galaxy travels toward us, it hits the curved space around the cluster. It does not stop. It follows the curve. It bends around the obstacle, splitting into streams that flow over, under, and around the cluster. By the time this light reaches Earth, it has been magnified. The gravity of the cluster acts exactly like a giant magnifying glass, focusing the light of the background galaxy, making it brighter and larger than it actually is. This is called gravitational lensing. Nature turns obstacles into windows. The very thing that stands in our way, the massive blocking cluster, becomes the tool that allows us to see further than we ever could on our own. It is a cosmic telescope, billions of light years wide, built by gravity itself. Without this natural assistance, the edge of the universe would remain dark to us. Nature wants to be seen. It arranges its furniture so that even the most distant, shy objects get a chance to shine. There is a beautiful distortion here. Often, the light appears stretched into a ring, an Einstein ring, creating a halo of light around the dark center. It is a crown of ancient starlight. It reminds us that the path of truth is rarely a straight line. Sometimes you have to go around the heavy things to find the light. As you lie in your bed, think about the obstacles in your own life, the heavy situations, the problems that seem to block your view of the future. Nature teaches us that these things are not just walls, they are lenses. The gravity of a difficult time can bend your perspective, magnifying what is truly important. It can focus your attention on things you might have missed before. You do not need to push the obstacle out of the way. You can look through the curve it creates. You can let the heaviness of the moment become the glass through which you see your own strength more clearly. Let your perspective soften now. You are looking at the universe through the lens of sleep. The sharp edges of the day are bending, curving, becoming soft rings of light. The logic of the waking world is distorting into the gentle absurdity of dreams. This is natural. Let the gravity of the night magnify your peace. You are safe behind the lens, watching the cosmos turn its heavy glass into a tool for your rest. Let us drift now to the outer reaches of our own solar system, to the giants that live in the cold dark. We float past Mars, past Jupiter, past Saturn, until we reach the blue, frozen worlds, Uranus and Neptune. These planets are beautiful, silent spheres of azure gas, spinning far from the warmth of the sun. They look serene, but deep inside, nature is performing alchemy that would make a jeweler weep. We humans value diamonds because they are rare. We dig into the earth, sifting through tons of rock to find a single sparkling crystal. We think of diamonds as symbols of wealth, things to be locked in safes. But nature knows that abundance is just a matter of location and pressure. Deep in the atmosphere of Neptune, the pressure is crushing. It is hundreds of thousands of times greater than the pressure at the bottom of Earth's ocean. The atmosphere is thick with methane, a gas made of carbon and hydrogen. As this gas sinks deeper into the planet, the pressure squeezes the atoms together violently. Nature knows how to separate the essential from the non-essential. The pressure strips the hydrogen away, leaving the naked carbon. And then, in the absolute crushing dark, it forces the carbon atoms to link arms. They form a crystal lattice. They become diamonds. But these are not the tiny chips we put in rings. Science suggests these could be diamonds the size of cars, raining down slowly through the thick, hot slush of the planet's mantle. Imagine that, a slow, silent storm of falling gems. Millions of tons of diamonds, falling like hail, sinking toward the core, where they might form a solid layer of diamond ice surrounding the heart of the planet. Nature creates this unimaginable wealth in the dark, where no one will ever see it. It does not do it for applause. It does not do it for value. It does it because that is what happens when you apply enough pressure to potential. It creates clarity. It creates hardness. It creates a structure that cannot be broken. There is a profound lesson in the diamond rain. We often resent pressure. We resent the weight of expectation, the stress of work, the crushing feeling of a hard day. We want life to be light and airy. But nature knows that it is the pressure that turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. The carbon was just gas, drifting, formless, invisible. The pressure gave it a shape. It made it shine. And notice the privacy of this miracle. The most beautiful things in the solar system are hidden beneath thick clouds of blue gas. They are falling in the dark. True worth does not need to be displayed. It does not need the light of the sun to sparkle. It is valuable simply because of what it is. As you lie in the comfort of your bed, imagine the pressure of the day lifting off you. You have endured it. You have been squeezed by the demands of the world. But perhaps, like the carbon on Neptune, that pressure has created something gem-like inside you, a clarity, a resilience, a hard, bright centre of peace. You do not need to show this to anyone. It is yours. You can let the jewels of your wisdom rain down into the quiet core of your subconscious. Let them settle there. Now you are safe from the crushing weight. You are floating in the upper atmosphere, light and free. The hard work is done down below. Above, there is only the soft blue silence. Drift in this cool, alien beauty. Let the concept of value fade away. You are priceless, sleeping in a universe that rains diamonds in the dark just because it can. Let us cast our minds out to the very edges of the known universe. For a long time, we humans believed that the cosmos was static, a fixed, unchanging crystal sphere where the stars stood still, locked in their eternal positions. It felt safer that way. We like things to stay where we put them, but nature knows that nothing that is truly alive stays still. Nature knows that to exist is to change, and to live is to grow. In the 1920s, we looked through our telescopes and noticed something startling. The galaxies were not sitting still. They were moving away from us. And not just moving, they were racing. The further away a galaxy was, the faster it was fleeing. This was the discovery of the expansion of the universe. We often call the beginning of the universe the Big Bang, a name that suggests a violent explosion, a bomb going off in a room. But nature is rarely so crude. A better way to imagine it is a big stretch. Imagine a loaf of raisin bread rising in a warm oven. As the dough expands, the raisins move further apart from one another. They are not moving through the dough. The dough between them is growing. This is what is happening to space itself. The vacuum is stretching. Every second, millions of miles of new space are being created between the galaxies. The universe is getting bigger, cooler, and more spacious. It is a cosmic deep breath, a slow, continuous exhale that has been going on for 13 billion years. And recently, we discovered something even more mysterious. We thought gravity would eventually slow this expansion down, that the universe would eventually get tired and pull everything back together. But nature had a surprise. The expansion is speeding up. There is a mysterious energy pushing space apart, an energy we call dark energy. We do not know exactly what it is, but we know what it does. It creates space. It overcomes the clutch of gravity. Nature knows that sometimes things need to be pushed apart to thrive. It knows that clinging too tightly leads to collapse. If the universe had too much gravity, if it held on too hard, it would have crunched back down into a singularity long ago. There would be no stars, no life, no you. The universe exists because it learned to let go. It prioritizes space over closeness. It allows the galaxies to drift into their own solitudes, giving them the room to spin and evolve without crashing into one another. There is a profound freedom in this idea. We often tighten up when we are scared. We constrict. We try to hold on to people, moments, and situations, fearing that if we let go, we will lose everything. But nature teaches us that expansion is the natural state of things. To grow is to allow distance. To survive is to open up. As you lie in your bed, imagine you're mimicking the universe. Feel the space between your ribs expand as you breathe. Feel the tension in your muscles lengthening, stretching out. You are not a static object, you're a dynamic expanding event. You do not need to hold everything together tonight. You do not need to use your gravity to keep the world close and tight. You can use your dark energy. You can push the worries away, creating vast, safe distances between you and your problems. Let them drift off to the edge of the cosmos. You are creating room for rest. You are exhaling the day, creating a new, wider, quieter space inside yourself, just like the universe does in the dark. Let us look now at the arrow of time itself. If you drop a glass on the floor, it shatters into 1,000 pieces, but you never see the shards jump back up and reassemble into a perfect glass. If you pour milk into coffee, it swirls and mixes. You never see it unmix back into black coffee and white milk. We call this entropy. In physics textbooks, entropy is often described as a measure of disorder. It sounds negative, like a messy room getting messier. We are taught to fight entropy, to clean up, to organize, to build walls against the chaos. But the sleepy scientist sees entropy differently. Nature does not see it as chaos. Nature sees it as relaxation. Think of a clenched fist. That is low entropy. It is ordered, tight, structured, and full of potential energy. But it takes effort to maintain. It is stressful. Now think of an open hand resting on the mattress. That is high entropy. The energy has spread out. The structure has loosened. It is effortless. The second law of thermodynamics, the most fundamental law in the universe, states that the total entropy of an isolated system always increases. This means that the universe is constantly trying to unclench. It is constantly trying to move from a state of concentrated stress to a state of spread out peace. Heat flows from hot objects to cold ones. A hot stone in a cool room will slowly release its heat until it is the same temperature as the air. It shares its energy. It stops being distinct and intense and becomes comfortable and ambient. Nature hates gradients. It hates sharp differences. It wants everything to be equal, calm, and balanced. We worry about falling apart, but nature suggests that falling apart is just another way of saying settling down. The mountains are slowly wearing down into sand. The sand is settling into the ocean. The ocean is evaporating into clouds. It is a slow, majestic dance of release. The universe is taking a long, hot bath, letting all its knots untie. Even the stars will eventually fade. Billions of years from now, the last sun will set, and the universe will enter a state often called the heat death. It sounds scary, but a gentler name might be the Great Rest. It is a state where all energy is evenly distributed, where nothing struggles, nothing burns, and nothing needs to be done. It is the ultimate Sunday afternoon of the cosmos. You can align yourself with this law tonight. You spend all day fighting entropy. You build, you organize, you concentrate your focus. You tighten your muscles to hold your posture. You are a low entropy being fighting the flow. But sleep is your chance to surrender to the second law. Sleep is high entropy. It is the time when you stop holding your shape. You let your thoughts scatter like the milk in the coffee. You let your body heat radiate into the duvet. You let your boundaries soften. Do not be afraid of the mess of sleep, the nonsensical dreams, the heavy limbs. This is not failure. This is physics. You're obeying the deepest command of nature. Relax. Let the energy spread out. Let the concentration fade. You are moving toward equilibrium. Feel the knots in your shoulders dissolving. That is entropy doing its work. It is smoothing you out. It is taking the hard, sharp edges of your stress and sanding them down into soft, rolling dunes. You are flowing with the river of time, drifting toward the perfect, peaceful balance of the dark. You do not have to hold it together anymore. Let it go. Let it unravel. Let it rest. Let us drift now to a very specific, invisible location in the dark. We often think of space as a place of constant motion, where gravity is always pulling you toward a star or a planet. If you stop your engines, you fall. But nature knows that there are hidden sanctuaries in the void, places of perfect mathematical stillness. These are called Lagrange points. Imagine the sun pulling you with its massive gravity on one side, and the earth pulling you with its smaller, but closer, gravity on the other. Logic suggests there must be a spot between them where these two forces exactly cancel each other out, a place where the tug-of-war is a draw. This is the Lagrange point. It is a parking spot in space. If you were to place a satellite, or yourself, at this precise point, you would not fall toward the sun, nor would you fall toward the earth. You would stay fixed in relative position, locked in a gentle embrace between the two giants. You would orbit the sun at exactly the same speed as the earth, hiding in its gravitational shadow. Nature knows that balance is not about the absence of force, it is about the equalization of forces. At these points, the energies are tremendous. The sun is pulling with the strength of a god, and the earth is pulling back, but the result is zero. It is a silence created by the meeting of two shouts. We use these spots to park our most precious eyes. The James Webb Space Telescope sits at the point known as L2, 1,000,000 miles from Earth, far out in the midnight side. It rests there, using almost no fuel, held in place by the geometry of the solar system. It sits in the cosmic hammock, rocking gently in the gravity, looking out at the dawn of time with a steady, unblinking gaze. There is a lesson here about finding your own neutral zone. We often feel pulled in opposite directions. The demands of work pull us one way, the needs of our home pull us another. The past tugs at our memories. The future tugs at our anxieties. We feel stretched. But the Lagrange point teaches us that there is always a point of balance. There is a place where the shoulds and the musts cancel each other out. It is a narrow zone, yes, and you have to find it carefully. But it exists. It is the place where you stop fighting the pull and simply exist in the tension. As you lie in your bed, imagine you have found your L2 point. The day is behind you, pulling with its gravity of responsibility. The morning is ahead of you, pulling with its gravity of potential. But right now, you are in the middle. The forces are equal. You are weightless. You do not need to move toward the day or the morning. You can just hover. You are suspended in the perfect equilibrium of the night. The universe has created a pocket of stillness just for you. Rest in this hammock, held up by the invisible forces of your life, perfectly balanced, perfectly safe, and perfectly still. Let us listen once more to the rhythm of the solar system. For centuries, astronomers believed that the planets moved in silent, lonely circles. But nature knows that nothing moves in isolation. Nature loves harmony. The planets are not just orbiting, they are dancing. They are singing a song in the language of gravity. This is called orbital resonance. Look at the moons of Jupiter, Io, Europa, and Ganymede. These are worlds of fire and ice, spinning around the gas giant. But their movements are not random. They are locked in a precise mathematical ratio. For every one time Ganymede orbits Jupiter, Europa orbits exactly twice, and Io orbits exactly 4 times. It is a 1-2-4 beat, dum, dum, dum. It is a waltz. Every time they pass each other, they give a little gravitational tug, like a nod to a dance partner. These tugs keep their orbits stable. They keep the rhythm alive. If one were to speed up, the others would gently pull it back. If one were to slow down, the others would pull it forward. Nature knows that stability comes from recurring patterns. It loves whole numbers. Pluto and Neptune, the distant wanderers, are also locked in a dance. For every 3 times Neptune circles the Sun, Pluto circles exactly twice. They cross each other's paths, but they never collide because the rhythm protects them. They are always in the right place at the right time, guided by the music of the spheres. This resonance is what keeps the solar system from flying apart. It is a self-correcting choir. It teaches us that repetition is not boring. Repetition is the foundation of safety. The sun comes up, the sun goes down, the tide comes in, the tide goes out, the heart beats, the lungs fill. We often crave novelty. We want something new every day, but nature finds peace in the loop. It finds comfort in the reliable return of the familiar. The lullaby works because it repeats. The rocking of the cradle works because it is rhythmic. Think of your own routine tonight as a form of orbital resonance. You brushed your teeth, you turned off the lights, you pulled up the covers. These are the beats of your own song. You are syncing yourself with the rhythm of sleep. You are nodding to the moon, nodding to the dark, falling into step with the great cosmic dance. As you drift deeper, listen to the resonance of your own body. Your heart is the drummer. Your breath is the melody. You are not a chaotic collection of cells. You are a symphony of timing. Let the rhythm take over. You do not need to conduct the orchestra. The song has been playing since you were born. Just listen to the beat. 1, 2, breathe in, breathe out. You are locked in a safe, stable orbit around the center of sleep. Nothing can knock you off course. The gravity of the night is holding you in perfect time. Let us look up at the night sky one more time. It is a vast canvas of black, sprinkled with glittering stars. We take this darkness for granted. We assume that night is simply what happens when the sun goes down. But to the sleepy scientist, the darkness of the night sky is a profound riddle known as Olber's paradox. Think about it. If the universe is infinite, and if it is filled with infinite stars scattered evenly throughout space, then no matter where you look in the sky, your eye should eventually land on a star. Every single point in the dark should be filled with starlight. The night sky should not be black. It should be as bright as the surface of the sun, a blinding white wall of light. But it is dark. Why? Because nature knows that life requires limits. Nature knows that an infinite static brilliance would be overwhelming. The darkness tells us two incredible things about our home. First, it tells us that the universe had a beginning. The universe is not timeless. It was born. There has not been enough time since the Big Bang for the light from the most distant stars to reach us yet. The darkness you see between the stars is simply the light that hasn't arrived. It is the shadow of the future waiting to happen. Second, it tells us that the universe is expanding. As we learned, space is stretching. As the light from distant galaxies travels through this stretching space, the light waves get pulled apart. They stretch from visible light into infrared and then into radio waves. By the time that ancient light reaches our eyes, it has become invisible. It has faded into the black. Nature has designed the cosmos to be a place of rest. It has engineered the expansion of space to cool down the light, to dim the glare, to ensure that we are not blinded by the sheer energy of existence. The dark is not an absence of things, it is a gift of physics. It is a filter that protects us from the infinite. There is a deep philosophical comfort in this. We often fear the dark, we populate it with monsters and uncertainties. But science teaches us that the dark is actually a form of shelter. It is the universe turning down the dimmer switch so that we can sleep. If we were exposed to the full reality of the cosmos, the screaming radiation, the blinding light of every star that ever was, we would burn up. The night is nature's way of saying, that is enough. It is a curtain pulled gently across the window of the infinite. It allows us to have a private corner in a crowded galaxy. It allows us to cool down. As you lie in your darkened room, appreciate the blackness. It is not empty space. It is evidence of a universe that is growing, moving, and protecting you. You are hidden in the pockets of the light. You are safe in the shadow of the expansion. Let the darkness wrap around you like a heavy, velvet blanket. It is there to soothe your eyes and quiet your mind. It is the visual silence that allows you to dream. You do not need to see everything. You do not need to know everything. The universe has hidden the rest away in the dark so that you can simply be here, now, in the peace of this single, quiet moment. Let us drift now to the freezing outer edges of our solar system, far beyond the orbit of Neptune, far beyond the dwarf planet Pluto. We are entering the Oort cloud. This is a vast spherical shell of icy debris that surrounds our sun like a thick bubble. It is the home of the comets. These are the dirty snowballs of the cosmos, mountains of rock, dust and frozen gases that have been sleeping in the absolute cold for 4.5 billion years. They are the leftovers from the formation of the solar system, the bricks that didn't get used to build the planets. They float in the silence, barely moving, suspended in a deep, cryogenic slumber. Nature knows the value of deep storage. It keeps these time capsules on the shelf, waiting for the right moment. Occasionally, a passing star nudges one of these sleeping giants, or the gravity of the galaxy shifts slightly, and the comet begins a long, slow fall toward the sun. This journey can take millions of years. For eons, the comet remains a frozen rock, invisible and silent. But as it crosses the line of Jupiter and gets closer to the warmth of the sun, a transformation begins. The heat touches the ice. The comet wakes up. It does not melt like an ice cube. It sublimes. The ice turns directly into gas, shooting out in powerful jets. These jets of gas and dust form a glowing atmosphere around the nucleus, called the coma. And then the solar wind, the breath of the sun, pushes this gas backward, creating a magnificent tail that can stretch for millions of miles. The comet becomes one of the most beautiful objects in the sky. It is a traveller that has put on its finest clothes to visit the king. But nature knows that this brilliance comes at a cost. The comet is shedding its mass. It is giving pieces of itself away to the void. It leaves a trail of dust behind it, a trail that Earth sometimes passes through, creating meteor showers. When you see a shooting star, you're seeing a grain of dust from a comet that passed by centuries ago. You're seeing the memory of a traveller burning up in the atmosphere. There is a melancholy beauty in the life of a comet. It spends almost all of its life in the dark, alone and frozen. Its moment of glory, its time in the light, is brief. But in that brief moment, it shines brighter than anything else. It connects the frozen edge of the system with the burning centre. Some scientists believe that comets brought the water to Earth. In the early days, when Earth was dry and hot, it was bombarded by these icy visitors. They melted upon impact, filling our oceans. They may have even brought the organic molecules, the seeds of life, that eventually became us. We are the children of these travellers. The water in the glass on your nightstand might have once been ice on a comet floating in the Oort cloud. You are drinking the melted history of the solar system. As you lie in your bed, imagine you are a comet on the outer part of your orbit. You are far from the noise and heat of the day. You are in the cool, quiet aphelion, the furthest point from the sun. You are allowed to be cold. You are allowed to be still. You are dormant. You do not need to have a tail of fire right now. You do not need to perform. That is for the daytime. For the perihelion, when you are close to the work. Right now, you are just a rock in the void, resting, gathering your ice, holding your structure together in the safety of the dark. The sun will call you back eventually. But for tonight, enjoy the deep freeze. Enjoy the silence of the outer rim. Let us turn our faces now toward the centre of our lives, the sun. To our eyes, it is a blinding disk of constant, steady white light. It seems unchanging, a burning coin that rules the day. But nature knows that nothing with that much energy can remain still. The sun is not just burning, it is ringing. If you were to place a stethoscope against the surface of the sun, you would hear a low, rhythmic thrumming. The sun is filled with sound. It is a giant musical instrument, resonating with millions of different tones simultaneously. This is the science of helioseismology. Deep inside the core, where the nuclear fusion is happening, massive bubbles of hot gas are rising to the surface, cooling and sinking back down. This churning motion, convection, strikes the solar atmosphere like a mallet striking a drum. It creates sound waves, but these sound waves are trapped. The sun's gravity is so strong that it bends the sound back down into the interior. The waves bounce around inside the star, reflecting off the surface and the core over and over again. These trapped waves make the entire sun vibrate. It breathes in and out. It ripples. The period of these vibrations is about 5 minutes. It is a slow, steady pulse. Nature knows that even fire has a rhythm. The sun is singing to itself in the vacuum. It is a song of pressure and release, a song that holds the star up against its own crushing gravity. We cannot hear this song with our ears because space is a vacuum, but we can see it. We can see the surface of the sun rising and falling by tens of miles with every beat. We can measure the frequency. By listening to this song, scientists can see inside the sun, just like a doctor uses ultrasound to see a baby. We know what the core looks like because of the music it makes. There is a lesson here about the hidden life of things. We often judge by the surface. We see a person who looks calm or a situation that looks static, but underneath there is always a vibration. There is always a song being played by the internal pressures of life. Nature teaches us that vibration is a sign of health. A dead star does not ring. It is silent and solid. A living star trembles. It is dynamic. As you lie in your bed, feel the vibration of your own existence. Put your hand on your chest. Feel the beat. Thump, 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 thump. That is your internal sun. It is the convection of your blood, the rhythm of your life. You are resonating. You do not need to be perfectly still to be at peace. The sun is at peace in its orbit, yet it is shaking with energy. You can be vibrating with emotions, with thoughts, with the remnants of the day, and still be whole. Let the vibrations move through you. Do not try to silence the song, just let it play. You are a vessel of sound in a quiet room, humming with the warmth of being alive. Let us look now at something even more subtle than the sound of the sun. Let us look at the ghost particle. As the sun burns, it produces light and heat, which we feel. But it also produces something else. Neutrinos. These are subatomic particles that are almost impossible to imagine. They have almost no mass. They have no electric charge. They do not feel the strong nuclear force that holds atoms together. They are the ultimate introverts of the universe. They want nothing to do with matter. Every second the sun shoots trillions of neutrinos toward the Earth. And right now, as you lie in your bed, about 100 trillion neutrinos are passing through your body every single second. They do not stop, they do not hit your skin, they do not bump into your atoms. To a neutrino, your body is mostly empty space. To a neutrino, the Earth is empty space. They fly straight through the planet as if it wasn't there. They enter the day side of the Earth, pass through the crust, the mantle, the molten iron core, and fly out the night side, continuing on into the cosmos without slowing down even a fraction. They are the ghost walkers. Nature knows that there is a way to move through the world without interacting with it. There is a way to be present but untouched. We have to build massive detectors, giant tanks of ultra-pure water buried deep in mines, just to catch a single one of them. We wait for the rare, 1 in a trillion chance that a neutrino might accidentally graze an atom of water and create a tiny flash of blue light. Otherwise, they are invisible. There is a profound freedom in the neutrino's existence. It is not burdened by friction. It is not slowed down by obstacles. It does not get entangled in the drama of gravity or electromagnetism. It just goes. It follows its path with absolute purity. We often feel stuck in our lives. We feel caught in the webs of relationships, responsibilities, and physical limitations. We bump into things, we get hurt, we get tired. But nature suggests that part of us can be like the neutrino. There is a part of your consciousness that is the observer, the ghost walker. It can watch the thoughts pass without grabbing them. It can experience the emotions without being stopped by them. It can pass through the hardest situations. the iron cores of your life, and emerge on the other side untouched. As you drift towards sleep, imagine you are dissolving into this ghost-like state. The walls of the room cannot hold you. The blanket does not weigh you down. You are transparent to the world. The worries that usually stick to you are passing right through. You are allowing them to fly by. You are safe in this non-attachment. You are a traveller of the night, moving effortlessly through the dark, guided by a momentum that nothing can stop. Let the heavy, material world stay where it is. You are floating through it, light, silent, and free. Let us turn our gaze back to our closest companion, the moon. If you have ever looked up at the night sky, you have noticed a peculiar thing. No matter when you look, whether it is tonight or 10 years from now, or when you were a child, you always see the same face. The moon has a man in the moon, a specific arrangement of craters and dark seas, and it never changes. We never see the back of the moon's head. For a long time, people thought this was just a coincidence. They thought the moon was simply floating there, motionless. But nature knows that nothing is motionless. The moon is spinning. It rotates on its axis just like the Earth does, but it rotates with a specific, magical slowness. It takes exactly 27 days for the moon to spin around once, and it takes exactly 27 days for the moon to orbit the Earth once. This perfect matching of rhythm is called tidal locking. It is not an accident. It is a relationship forged by gravity and time. Billions of years ago, when the moon was young and molten, it spun much faster. It showed all its sides to the Earth, turning wildly in the dark. But the Earth's gravity reached out and grabbed it. Because the moon is not a perfect sphere, it is slightly egg-shaped with a bulge facing us. The Earth's gravity latched onto that bulge. Every time the moon tried to spin away, the Earth pulled it back. It acted like a brake. Over millions of years, this gentle, persistent tug slowed the moon's spin down. It applied friction to the rotation until finally the spin matched the orbit perfectly. The moon locked into place. It surrendered. It agreed to face its partner forever. Nature knows the value of undivided attention. Tidal locking is the celestial equivalent of eye contact. It is a state of permanent engagement. The moon is dancing with the Earth, holding hands, spinning in a circle, and never looking away. There is a deep sense of loyalty in this physics. The moon protects the Earth. By keeping one face turned toward us, it has allowed its far side, the side we never see, to take the brunt of the damage from the cosmos. If you look at photos of the far side, it is battered and scarred, covered in thousands of craters. It has acted as a shield, absorbing the impacts of asteroids and comets so that we don't have to. It faces the unknown so we can face the familiar. We often feel the need to show every side of ourselves to the world. We feel we must constantly spin, constantly change, constantly update our profile. But the moon teaches us the dignity of consistency. There is power in showing up the same way every night. There is comfort in being reliable. As you lie in your bed, imagine you are tidally locked to your own center of peace. You do not need to spin frantically. You do not need to show a different face to every worry that passes by. You can stay fixed. You can keep your gaze turned inward, toward the quiet gravity of your own heart. Let the world spin around you. Let the stars move in their courses. You are steady. You are facing the thing that matters most, your rest. You are held in a gravitational embrace that keeps you safe, stable, and perfectly aligned with the rhythm of the night. Let us drift now to the very edge of human influence. In 1977, we launched two small robotic ships, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, into the dark. Their mission was to look at the giant planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and then keep going, to fly forever into the void. They are now the most distant human-made objects in existence. Voyager 1 has crossed the heliopause, the boundary where the wind from our sun stops and the cold wind of the interstellar stars begins. It is truly in outer space. It is billions of miles away, floating in absolute silence. But these ships are not just machines, They are messengers. Attached to the side of each Voyager is a golden record. It is a 12-inch phonograph record made of copper and gold, designed to last for 1 billion years. Nature knows that we have a deep need to be heard, even if no one is listening. On this record, we put the sounds of Earth. We put the sound of wind, of thunder, of birds singing, of whales calling. We put the sound of a mother kissing a child. We put music, Bach, Beethoven, Chuck Berry, and the folk songs of Bulgaria. We put greetings in 55 languages. We sent a bottle into the cosmic ocean. We did not know if anyone would ever find it. The chances of an alien civilization stumbling across this tiny metal disc in the infinite dark are statistically 0. But we sent it anyway. Why? Because nature knows that the act of speaking is valuable, even without an audience. The golden record is not really for the aliens. It is for us. It is a declaration of who we are. It is a way of saying, we were here, we felt things, we made music, we loved the rain. There is a profound humility in the Voyagers. They are drifting with their engines off. They are no longer steering. They are being carried by the momentum of a push given to them decades ago. They will wander among the stars long after the Earth is gone, long after the sun has burned out. They are the immortal memory of our species. Think of the silence surrounding that golden disc. It is travelling at 38,000 miles per hour, yet it feels no wind, it sees no road. It is surrounded by the crushing emptiness of the interstellar medium. Yet inside the grooves of that record, the sound of a human heartbeat is preserved. The sound of a laugh is waiting. Nature knows how to keep a secret. In the vacuum of space, there is no decay. Oxygen cannot rust the gold. Moisture cannot warp the disc. The record remains as shiny and new as the day it was launched. It is a time capsule that will outlive the planet that made it. As you lie in your bed, think of your own thoughts as a golden record. You do not need to broadcast them to the world tonight. You do not need to make sure everyone hears you. You can simply preserve them. Pack away the sweet moments of the day, the smile, the good meal, the moment of quiet. Etch them into the gold of your memory. Send them out into the silence of sleep. They are safe there. They will not rust. They will not fade. You are a Voyager too. You are drifting into the unknown country of dreams, but you carry with you the music of your life. You carry the sounds of who you are. You are drifting peacefully, a small precious point of consciousness in the vast beautiful dark, carrying a message of life that will last through the night. Let us look finally at the very stuff you are made of. We have talked about stars, comets and trees, but what are they built from? If we were to zoom in on your hand, past the skin, past the cells, past the DNA, we would eventually reach the atom. We often think of atoms as tiny solid balls, like microscopic marbles packed tightly together to make a solid world. We feel solid, the bed feels solid, the floor feels solid, but nature knows that this solidity is a magnificent illusion. Nature knows that the fundamental building block of the universe is not matter, it is empty space. Imagine an atom, imagine the nucleus. The center part, made of protons and neutrons, is the size of a marble sitting on the center line of a football stadium. Where are the electrons? Are they in the stands? No, they are tiny gnats, buzzing way out in the parking lot, miles away. Everything in between the marble and the gnat is void. It is absolute emptiness. In fact, an atom is 99.9999% empty space. If you could remove all the empty space from the atoms that make up all the human beings on Earth, all 8 billion of us, the actual solid matter that remained would fit inside the size of a single sugar cube. The entire human race, stripped of its emptiness, is no bigger than a piece of candy. So why don't you fall through the bed? Why can you hold a cup? It is because of the forces. The electrons are spinning so fast, creating such a powerful shell of energy that they repel the electrons of the bed. You are levitating on a force field of electromagnetism. You are hovering 1 nanometer above the sheets. You have never actually touched anything in your life. You have only felt the resistance of energy fields. Nature knows that you do not need stuff to be strong. You need energy. You need connection. The void inside the atom is not empty. It is filled with fields, with potential, with the glue that holds reality together. There is a profound lightness in this truth. We often feel heavy. We feel weighed down by our bodies, by our possessions, by our pasts. But physics tells us that we are mostly ghost. We are mostly space. We are airy, spacious creatures, pretending to be rocks. As you lie in your bed, try to feel this spaciousness. You are not a dense, heavy lump. You are a cloud of energy held together by a miracle. You are as open as the night sky. Let the sensation of heaviness dissolve. If you are 99% empty space, then there is plenty of room for the stress to flow right through you. There is no solid target for the worry to hit. Let it pass through the gaps between your atoms. Let it fly out into the vacuum. You are a cathedral of space. You are vast on the inside. Enjoy this feeling of being unsolid. It is the ultimate freedom. You are light, you are energy, and you are vibrating in harmony with the great, spacious silence of the universe. We have reached the end of our journey. Tonight, we have walked through the library of the forest, swum in the deep oceans, flown with the silent owls, and drifted among the ancient stars. We have seen that nature is not just a background for our lives, it is a master teacher. It knows things we are only just beginning to remember. It knows that rest is not a weakness, but a strategy for survival, like the bear in winter. It knows that softness is stronger than hardness, like the water cutting the canyon. It knows that you can be broken and still bloom, like the seed in the dark soil. It knows that you are never truly alone, but connected by invisible webs to everything else in the cosmos. You have gathered this wisdom tonight. It is stored in the honeycomb of your mind. You do not need to hold on to it tightly. You can let it settle. The concepts we explored, the gravity, the light, the silence, are good company for your drowsy thoughts. They do not demand attention. They only offer perspective. As the sleepy scientist, it has been my privilege to guide you through this museum of wonders. But now the tour is over. The lights in the museum are dimming. The exhibits are going quiet. The universe is tucking itself in. A small kindness to the algorithmic winds before you drift off. If this journey helped you unwind, if these stories of nature helped you find a quiet corner in a loud world, feel free to subscribe for more calm explorations. Your quiet presence here keeps these journeys possible. For those already aboard, thank you truly. If you would like a gentle nudge when the next night's sailing begins, tap the bell so the river finds you again. Now let the edges of the day soften completely. Let the ideas loosen their grip and settle like dust in a sunbeam. The map of the world will still be here in the morning. The sun will still rise, driven by the turning earth. The gravity will still hold you. You do not need to manage any of it. You have done enough. You have learned enough. Now is the time for the oldest wisdom of all, the wisdom of the pause. The universe breathes quietly. The stars are drifting. The trees are sleeping. And you, made of stardust and space, are safe to drift with them. Sleep well beneath its curve.